A Naughty Little Christmas, a Lover's Leap novel. Written by Lili Valente. Narrated by Andi Arndt and Sebastian York. Chapter 1. Macy. It's going to be fun, I promise. Olivia's brown pigtails bob as she bounces across the snow, dragging me behind her towards certain icy doom, a manic gleam in her eye. I was scared last year, but once you get over the initial shock, it's invigorating. You said it felt like you were having a heart attack and that 14 was way too young to die, I remind her, clutching my puffy winter coat closed at the top. And that you almost lost consciousness when your head went underwater. Olivia wrinkles her nose and swishes a dismissive hand my way. Yeah, but not in a bad way. In what way is losing consciousness beneath the waves of a freezing cold lake not bad? You're just afraid of fun. And we're 15 now, with much stronger hearts, Olivia says, hooking her arm securely through mine as if she senses I'm about to make a run for it. You haven't had a day off in months, Macy. You work too hard. It's time to live a little, to make wild, crazy, adventurous memories you'll treasure for the rest of your life. I glance down at my watch. Which will be for what? The next 10-15 minutes? How long does it take to die from hypothermia? Olivia laughs and lifts an arm, waving vigorously to a group of people gathered on the shore of Lover's Leap Lake. You're not going to die. You're going to have a blast, and then we'll grab hot chocolate at the Fish and Bicycle, toast our toes by the fire, and bask in the glow of remembered bravery. Stupidity, I grumble. 15 going on 50, Olivia warns, her favorite catchphrase when she thinks I'm taking life too seriously. But Olivia has no idea how serious things have gotten around the Clayton house, and I can't tell her. I love Olivia. She's a great friend, but I'm not sure what she would do if she knew my dad had run off for good. She might agree that I'm perfectly capable of taking care of my little sister Lynn and myself alone. I've been doing it for years, really, since my dad made a habit of drinking his paycheck away and dropping the parenting ball. Or she might decide I need help. She might tell her mom or her dad or one of the teachers at school, and Lynn and I would end up in state custody faster than you can say child abandonment. And the chance that potential foster parents will want a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old is slim to none. I've done my research. Teenagers are hard to place, and siblings almost always get torn apart. I can't let that happen to Lynn. I'm the only family she has left. Besides, I'm doing just fine. Sure, I'm tired from working double shifts at the grocery store on top of school, but winter will be over in a few months, so we won't need to pay for heat anymore. I just need to make it through March. As soon as the temperature creeps up, I can back off the crazy schedule, catch my breath, and figure out a more sustainable long-term plan. So I keep my mouth shut and force a smile. Fine, I won't be 15 going on 50. But if any part of my body freezes off, you have to drive both it and me to the hospital to have it reattached, since you're the only one with a driver's license. Olivia starts bouncing again, a huge grin on her pink-cheeked face. Yay! It's going to be epic. I can feel it. Come on, Daisy's waiting for us, and she brought matching swan floaties. Olivia bounds down the snow-covered hill toward the crowded lakeshore, and I follow, my heart dancing anxiously behind my ribs. Not only do I have absolutely no desire to do the polar bear plunge into freezing cold water, but I'm also pretty sure my swimsuit will be the rattiest thing on display here today. Not all of my girlfriends are well off, but all of them are in better financial straits than I am, and few are still rocking a one-piece, let alone a pilled, threadbare black one-piece they grabbed at a Goodwill sale the summer they turned 12. When we reach Daisy, we exchange hugs in a flurry of giggles and squeals as the organizer of the event announces plunging shall commence in 5 minutes, and I try to get caught up in the excitement. I tell myself no one will notice that my suit is riding up on the sides and barely covering my breasts at the top, or that the fabric is nearly see-through with wear across the bottom. But as I peel off my jeans, boots, and socks, until my hideous suit is concealed only by my puffy black coat, A wave of self-consciousness twists my stomach, making me wish I hadn't skipped lunch to save a few bucks. And then I feel it, a prickle of awareness, an invisible electric current coursing up my spine, lifting the hairs on the back of my neck and making my lips buzz in the cool air. Even before I look, I know who I'm going to see. I glance up, grinning as my gaze connects with the eyes of the boy standing on the opposite shore, and a single word dances through my head. Mine. There he is, the boy who belongs to me. The boy who was in my bed last night, the one who kissed me until I felt like I was made of starlight and magic. The one who makes me believe that happy endings aren't just for fairy tale princesses and movie stars and girls with dads who care enough not to run away and leave them alone. I've lived next door to Dean Roberts my entire life, but in the past month, he's become my world. He's more than my boyfriend. He's my confidant, my best friend, my ally, and the only person who knows the truth about my family. I don't know what I would do without him. I do know, however, that I love him to distraction. And, apparently, I do an exceptionally poor job of hiding it. "Oh my God, stop," Daisy, a tomboy from way back, says with a groan. "No more making goo-goo eyes at the boyfriend, Clayton. Seriously, my stomach can't take it." "Hush," Olivia says, shivering as she squirms her bare feet into the freezing sand. "Dean and Macy are the cutest. Leave them alone." "There's nothing cute about goo-goo eyes," Daisy insists, propping her hands firmly on her hips. "They look like a pair of drunk llamas." "I don't touch the hard stuff," I say as I cast another unabashedly gooey look Dean's way. "But I almost wish I did. Then maybe this plunge wouldn't hurt so much." Dean blows me a kiss across the water before pointing to the lake with an arched brow. I nod, indicating that yes, I'll meet him in the middle. I would crawl across burning sand to get to Dean, so I'm certainly not going to let a little cold lake water get in my way. "We don't need liquid courage." Olivia takes my hand and then Daisy's, giving them both a firm squeeze. "We are brave warrior goddesses who will face the frigid deep with valor and honor. Are you ready, sisters?" "Yes, drama queen." Daisy rolls her eyes, but I can tell she's looking forward to the run into the water nearly as much as Olivia is. "Let's do this." "All right, plungers, get ready." The organizer's deep voice booms over the speakers, sending a ripple of anticipation through the crowd, shifting anxiously on the shore. Olivia giggles and reaches for the zipper on her coat. "On your mark," the announcer says, pausing for effect. Daisy sheds her parka with a rough jerk of her arms, revealing a modest one-piece that instantly makes me feel better about my own suit. "Grab a swan, girls," she says, claiming one of the 3 inner tubes from the ground and wrapping it around her waist. "This is happening." "Get set, and plunge!" As the last word booms through the air, the crowd explodes in a flurry of motion. I barely have time to shuck my coat and snag my swan before I'm swept up in the tide of people rushing toward the lake. I jog into the water, squealing as my nerve endings ignite in protest to the cold, but there's no turning back now. There are too many people behind me. More importantly, there is a delicious boy ahead, already stroking hard through the waves toward me. Jaw clattering so loud I can hear my teeth snicking together over the giggles and shouts of the people plunging into the lake around me, I clutch my tube to my chest and frog kick toward Dean. Within a few seconds, my feet go numb, followed quickly by my knees and hips. I know my legs are still attached and moving because I keep chugging forward, but I can't feel them, and I'm quickly possessed by the certainty that staying in this lake longer than a few minutes is a bad idea. As Dean surges across the last of the freezing water separating us, it's clear he's on the same page. "Crap, it's cold," he gasps, his brown eyes wide in his handsome face as he treads water beside me. "Macy, it's cold in here." "It's December in Colorado, you nut," I say, laughing as he plays up his shock, blinking and sputtering. "Of course it's cold. What are you doing here?" "Olivia told me she was bringing you, and I couldn't let you suffer alone," he says, his words warming my heart even though my skin is so cold I'm pretty sure my goosebumps have goosebumps. Come on, Clayton. Let's get the hell out of here. Your lips are blue, and I don't want them falling off before I get to kiss them again. Me either. I shiver-giggle as I kick back toward the shore, so happy I almost don't care that I might never feel my legs again. Dean and I scramble back through the shallow water hand in hand. He pauses long enough to kiss my cheek and murmur, "You are crazy hot in this swimsuit. Be right back," before dashing across the sand to grab his clothes from the other side of the lake. Grabbing a towel from a pile near Daisy's abandoned boots, I dry off as best I can and struggle back into my clothes. But even after wrapping my coat tight across my chest, I can't seem to get warm. I'm still shivering when Olivia and Daisy come crashing out of the water. "Whose dumb idea was that?" Olivia gasps, shaking so hard she drops her towel twice before finally getting a grip on one edge. "That was awful." Daisy groans. "Never again. I'm never letting you talk me into anything ever again. Now hurry up and get dressed and drive me home." "No," Olivia wails. "What about hot chocolate?" "All I want is a hot bath," Daisy says, "and 5 pairs of socks." Olivia blinks innocent eyes my way. "What about you? Can I purchase you an apology drink by the fire at the Fish and Bicycle?" I wince and back toward Dean as he arrives. "I'm sorry, but I'm on Team Hot Bath too. Rain check?" "Sadness fills my heart," Olivia says, but she grins as she waves hello to Dean. "Okay, rain check. But for the record, I still think we're heroes. We did it! All the way in with no chickening out. We deserve credit for that." "I would rather be able to feel my balls," Dean mutters as we start toward his truck, making me laugh. "No, seriously," he says. "I'm not sure they're still there. I legit can't feel much below the waist right now." Brow furrowing, I tap a thoughtful finger to my still mostly numb lips. "That could be bad. You need those." "I do," he says with a huff. "I mean, it's a long way off, but I would like to be able to have children someday." His words send a blush rushing to my cheeks as I climb into the passenger seat and buckle in, reminding me of the birth control talk we had last night. The one that ended with both of us acknowledging that we need to get some on hand before we get out of hand. "Speaking of babies," I say, trying my best to sound casual, "I grabbed condoms from the jar in the nurse's office today. You know, just in case." Dean shoots a nervous grin my way as he starts up the truck. "Me too. I lurked outside in the hall until she went to the bathroom, then ran in really quick. I felt like a kid stealing cookies from the kitchen." "Me too," I say, giggling. "So what do you think?" He pulls out of the parking lot, heading up the narrow highway leading out of town, toward the mountain we've both called home our entire lives. "Does that mean we're not ready?" I shrug uncomfortably, simultaneously excited and terrified by this conversation and its implications. "I don't know. I don't think so. It just means we're smart enough to realize that adults aren't really cool with handing out condoms to teenagers, even when they pretend they are." "Good point." Dean's lips curve in that crooked smile that hits me in the heart every time. "My mom won't be home until late tonight. She's going to the teacher's holiday party thing at the community center. So if you wanted to come over and warm up in the jacuzzi tub upstairs together." "Oh, yeah?" I shift in my seat, facing him as he expertly maneuvers around the patches of ice still left on the road. "I could be down for a jacuzzi. Lynn's staying at a friend's tonight, so I don't have to make dinner. And we're already wet." "We are," Dean agrees. "And we'll be saving water if we wash together." "It's the environmentally responsible thing to do," I say, grinning as Dean nods seriously in response. "It is. And I care a lot about the environment, Maze." He reaches out, taking my hand as he adds, "Almost as much as I care about you." "Me too," I whisper, chest aching with happiness. "I'm in love with you, actually." He glances my way, the pleasure and relief mixing in his eyes, assuring me it isn't too soon to let the emotional cat out of the bag. "Me too. Crazy in love with you." "Good," I sigh, my heart melting into a gooey puddle on the floorboard of his truck. When he pulls into his driveway, I can't help diving across the seat and climbing into his lap for a kiss. My lips fit perfectly against his, and his tongue strokes into my mouth with a hungry groan, and instantly I'm as eager to eliminate every barrier between us as I was last night. But this time, we have everything we need to stay safe. This time, there won't be any reason to stop. Inside, I say when we finally pull apart, both of us breathing faster. Take me inside. Are you sure? His fingers dig lightly into the waist of my still damp suit beneath my coat. 100%? 1,000%, I promise as I reach for the door handle. A beat later, we're out of the truck, hurrying across the snow-covered yard. And then we're inside, kissing our way up the stairs to his room, our hands busy with buttons and zippers and damp fabric that clings to chilled skin. But we don't give up. We coax it free, off arms and down legs and onto the floor, until there is nothing between us but skin and heat and a love so real it makes me feel safer than I have in my entire life. I guess I should be scared or at least nervous about losing my virginity, but everything Dean and I do together feels so right, so perfect, so hot and lovely that by the time we finally put our first condom to use, I feel like I'm flying, soaring, lifted up on a warm, wonderful wind that I know will never let me down. I don't reach the finish line, so to speak. It's too uncomfortable the first time, but I don't care. All I care about is how close I feel to Dean afterward, so close that as we sink into the bath together, I can't stop smiling. Even when Dean tries to bring up telling his mom about my dad running off, I can't bring myself to get upset. It's fine, I say, snuggling closer to his chest in the deliciously hot water. Stop worrying. I've got the situation under control. I just love you, Dean says, a catch in his voice. So much. And I worry. I lift my head, staring deep into his eyes. Don't worry. I'm so happy, and everything is going to be okay. I promise. I lean in, kissing the worry from his lips, sighing into his mouth as his hands revisit all the places I love for him to touch me. The second time, we christen a towel on the floor of the bathroom, and as bliss, unlike anything I've experienced before, pulses through me, taking my breath and every care away, I believe it. I believe that everything will be okay, that I will make it through this hard-as-hell winter with my sister and me still in one piece. Yes, it's scary, and there are nights I can't sleep because I'm so worried about the heat getting turned off or how I'm going to pay for groceries. But with Dean by my side, I can accomplish anything. I can climb mountains, ford rushing rivers, swim across freezing cold lakes, and emerge with every finger attached and my heart still beating, because Dean and I are in love, and there's nothing love can't handle. I go right on thinking that, through the Christmas holidays and a frigid January when I would have shivered myself to sleep without Dean sneaking into my bedroom at night to keep me warm. I lose weight, and Lynn gets a bad cold that scares me, and Dean and I fight about silly things because I refuse to fight about bigger things, but still I believe. I believe and I believe, right up until the day the social worker comes to take Lynn and me away from the only home we've ever known. Right up until I turn to see Dean watching from his front porch, with an expression so guilty I know I've been betrayed, and that love isn't so tough after all. It's not strong or safe. And now, neither am I. Chapter 2. 10 years later. From the texts of Macy Clayton and Olivia Page. Olivia. Hey, Mama. I just got your email. I'm so glad you're coming to town, and I would normally be thrilled to host you for a few days. But when I moved into the house last week, I found out the electrical grid is shot. I keep waking up freezing my ass off. I don't want to freeze yours off too, but there's no way I'm getting a repairman out to fix the grid before January 2nd. You know everyone in this town is too busy having fun during the holidays to actually function. Macy. I know, but I don't mind the cold. I can bring wool socks and extra sweaters and help keep the fire lit all night. Olivia. No, no, no. I can't expose a guest to such inhospitable conditions. My inner hosting perfectionist would never allow it, not to mention my inner neat freak. Old Vic is tidier than it was a few days ago, but there's still a lot of work to do before it's clean enough for company. Macy, Liv, you know I don't care about things like that. I just want to give you a big hug and catch up on all your news. Olivia, I want that too, but, well, I have to confess I can't find Sir Lix-a-Lot. Macy, dare I ask? Olivia, Sir Lix-a-Lot is Kelly's pet skink. He escaped his cage at some point before I moved in. He's probably dead, the poor thing, but he could also be not dead. In which case, there may be a giant lizard loose in my house. A lizard with big teeth, who allegedly only eats invertebrates, but who knows what he might decide to eat if he's really hungry. And if you're devoured by a giant lizard while under my care, I'll never forgive myself. Macy, I doubt I would be devoured, but I agree that a giant lizard is a deal-breaker. I've got a reptile phobia. Reptiles and rodents and basically anything smaller than a dog but bigger than a ladybug. Olivia, I remember that. And I mean, Sir Lix-a-Lot is larger than a lot of small dog breeds, but I don't think that would make running into him in the bathtub any more appealing. Macy, not even a little bit. Olivia, I'm sorry. I feel like the worst friend/pet inheritor ever. If Kelly's looking down on me from the great beyond, I hope she can find it in her heart to forgive me for failing her lizard child. Macy, of course she forgives you, and you are not the worst friend ever. You're a total sweetheart, so don't waste another minute worrying about this. I'll find a hotel, and we'll catch up when you have time. How are you holding up? Still glad you left the big city? Olivia, I'm insanely thrilled to be out of Chicago, and I'm holding up okay, all things considering. But it's hard sometimes. Everything reminds me of Kelly. The decor and the dishes and every piece of art on every wall. The airline lost my luggage, so I've even been wearing her clothes. Macy, I'm so sorry, honey. I still can't believe she's gone. Olivia, me either. I keep expecting to see her walk in the door to the house or call to ask me to meet her at the bar for a beer. The entire town is haunted, you know? Macy, I do. Ghosts all over the place. That's one of the reasons I make my home over 1,000 miles away in a city where the sun always shines. Olivia, but you miss the snow. Admit it. The mountains are in your blood, girl. There have been Claytons here since before Lover's Leap had electricity. Macy, nope. I have sea spray in my blood these days. Swimming pools and movie stars all the way. Olivia, and smog and traffic. LA isn't all roses and sunshine. Kelly lived there for a summer after she graduated. She said the commute to her internship at the auction house was soul-crushing. Macy, the traffic is bad, that's true. And it's hard to get in the Christmas spirit when it's still warm enough to go running in a tank top. Olivia, that's why you should extend your stay here. I've got it all figured out. Daisy's friend Sarah is overseas on business until the end of January, and she said it's totally cool for you to stay at her cabin for the month. You can come home, settle in, and enjoy the holidays. We can eat all the pie, do some sledding on our favorite hill behind the elementary school, and have loads of time to catch up before you head back to LA, rested and refreshed by all the clean mountain air. Doesn't that sound amazing? Macy, that was so sweet of you to find me a place, Liv. But I can't stay for a month. I have clients who will freak out if I'm gone for that long. Olivia, no, they won't. You can get your trainees to cover your appointments and tell your clients it's good for their mindfulness practice to be flexible in the face of changing plans. Macy, LOL. Rich people don't enjoy changing plans unless they're the ones who decide to change them. They want their massage and guided meditation from yours truly, and I can't really complain about that. Delivering an experience they can't get from just anyone is what keeps me in business. Olivia, but you said yourself that the practice is getting too big for you to run alone. That's why you're training massage and meditation minions. It's time to let the minions off the bench, baby. Let them show you what they've learned while you come home. Lover's Leap isn't the same without you. Macy. I've been gone for a long time, Liv. I haven't been back since high school. It doesn't feel like home to me. Not anymore. Olivia. You don't mean that. I can tell. You just need to focus on the good things that happened here, Macy, and let the sad memories go. I know it's hard, but it's possible. I promise. I'm doing it, and you can too. And once you get past the bad stuff, you're left with a town full of people who know you and love you in a way that's priceless. There aren't many communities like ours left in the world, hon. Lover's Leap is special. Macy. You're special, Liv. And I promise I'll come for a nice long visit sometime soon. But this time around, I've only got 2 days. I get in on Thursday, meet the lawyer on Friday morning, and fly out Friday night. Olivia. No, that's not nearly long enough. How are we going to have time to catch up? I've got a Business Owners Association meeting I can't miss on Thursday night, no matter how much I want to. I need to get plugged in and figure out how to make the shop profitable before it goes under. You know, Kelly was way better at buying fun things to sell than she was actually selling them. Macy. I know, but I have faith in you. You're a smart, determined cookie. And we can have lunch Friday before I head back to Denver to catch my plane. My flight isn't until almost 9 p.m., so we've got time. Olivia. Lunch. Harumph. Lunch is not nearly enough. Lunch is dinner's sadder, shorter, wine-free sister. Macy. LOL. We can totally have wine with lunch, woman. You need to let your hair down and embrace being a grown-up who doesn't have a 9-to-5 job anymore. Olivia. True. I keep forgetting I don't have to go back to the office after lunch if I don't want to. Macy. Speaking of offices, I'd better head back to mine. I've got 2 more clients, and I still have to get home and pack for my flight tomorrow morning. Olivia. Well, at least let me get you set up to stay at Sarah's house on Thursday night. It's the least I can do. Macy. I don't want to impose, or have you go to all that trouble. I'll just get a room at one of the hotels. Olivia. Are you sure? I don't mind, and I want you to feel like you're coming home, not just for a visit. Macy. But it's not home for me, honey. And that's okay. I still love you every bit as much, no matter what I think about Lover's Leap. Olivia. All right, I will allow this, for now. But I know that you're going to want to come home eventually. How else am I ever going to learn to meditate? You know my brain is a hot mess. Macy. Your brain is hot fun. Like a plate of warm brownies. Let's have some of those with our lunch, huh? Olivia. Absolutely. See you soon, sweetie. And don't worry, Lover's Leap is going to give you a warm welcome. There's no doubt in my mind. Macy. Hugs. See you soon. Chapter 3. The last dregs of Wednesday fly by. My morning flight to Denver passes in a blur, and all too soon I find myself parking my rental car outside the Fish and Bicycle Cafe and Brew Pub and snagging a table near the windows at the back. I'm here. Really here. Back in Lover's Leap after 10 long years. It's surreal. Lover's fucking Leap. Never has a name been more depressingly accurate. Dear Olivia is deluded when it comes to this town. It isn't paradise in the Rockies. It's a place where love goes to die. Literally. Officer, my heart has hurled itself off a cliff and sees no reason to get up. I mumble into my coffee cup, staring brutally out the window at the people scurrying about downtown, hustling to get errands completed before the freak snowstorm the weather service started warning about this morning gets any worse. If I lean forward, I can catch a glimpse of the rocky pinnacle in the distance through the swirling snow, the sharp outcrop of the town's namesake jutting out from the surrounding mountains. These days, the Lover's Leap historical site is a tourist destination for rock climbers. 150 years ago, it was the location of a double suicide. Dolly Hunt and her lover, Sal Newman, a female fur trapper with a heart of gold and a weak spot for pretty young socialites, leaped to their deaths after Dolly's brothers tried to kill Sal during a bar brawl. The note the women left behind professed that they would rather die together than live in a world that didn't realize love was all that mattered. There's a plaque with their suicide letter inscribed on it at the summit. I know most people find this story inspiring, albeit in a sad way, but for me, my hometown's namesake is a sobering reminder that love makes people do stupid, dangerous things. Especially here, in this picturesque place where heart-stopping natural beauty and an adorable main drag do such a good job of glossing over the uglier parts of life. The tourists don't see it, of course. The tourists stay on the ski slopes or on quaint and funky Evergreen Lane. They see the charming surface, the unique shops, the cozy eateries, the crystal-clear river burbling by, and the epic views of pristine wilderness sweeping away from downtown as the Rocky Mountains stop playing nice and start showing off. They don't see the people in the surrounding rural wilderness living hand-to-mouth, the parents who drink too much because their seasonal jobs have gone out of season, and the kids waiting for school to start up after Christmas so they can count on steady meals. The teenagers saving every penny so they can get a decent set of wheels and get the hell out of town before they take a crazy leap. I was one of those kids, those teens. It was a hard-knock life in the Clayton house from day one, but it wasn't until my best friend betrayed me that I became one of the bitter and loveless in Lover's Leap. Dean Roberts. Just thinking his name is enough to make my coffee churn in my stomach. Dean, the boy next door, the friend who was like a big brother to me until the day he became so much more, until the day he kissed me on his back porch after Thanksgiving dinner, and the entire world lit up in vivid, heart-stopping color. He kissed me until I knew what it felt like to burn, to need in a way I hadn't understood you could need someone before that perfect afternoon. I'd fallen in love head first, without a second thought for the safety of my heart. At 15, I'd had no doubt that Dean could be trusted with every part of me, the good, the bad, the beautiful, the sad, and everything in between. Now I'm 25. 10 long years have passed since my first painful lesson in betrayal, and I've learned the only things a girl can count on are bills, taxes, LA traffic sucking all the ass, and people letting you down. Even Lynn, my true blue ally, dropped the ball on me this time. Lynn was supposed to have made this trip. My sister was looking forward to seeing her Lover's Leap friends and collecting the things our dad left us in his will. A box of family memorabilia he snagged from our cabin before the bank foreclosed a few years ago. Olivia is the only person in town I've kept in touch with, but Lynn has an ongoing group text chain with a gang of local women her age. They get together at least once a year to drink too much wine and gossip, and Lynn was giddy with excitement over the chance to see her besties again before their next meetup in June. But at the last minute, her boss sent her to fill in for a sick colleague at a drug rep conference. Now she's somewhere in Orange County talking up an allergy medicine guaranteed to keep your sinuses clean and clear, while I slog my way through this town filled with so many bittersweet memories I felt compelled to add 3 extra sugars to my coffee. It's a damned shame, really. Lynn is the one who's studied our ancestry and takes pride in being distantly related to the Delacourts, the family that inspired the town's Frozen Dead Dude festival, when their patriarch had himself cryogenically frozen and stored in a tough shed on their property. The annual celebration in honor of the local nut job takes place the week leading up to Christmas Eve and is Lynn's absolute favorite time of the year in Lover's Leap. She adores bowling with frozen turkeys in the square and cheering on the coffin race through downtown. I, however, don't put much stock in hokey festivals or heritage. What good are distant relatives? None of my second cousins stepped in to offer Lynn or I a place to live when Child Protective Services knocked on our door all those years ago. Lynn insists it wasn't our extended family's fault. Our dad kept us isolated. But I don't really care. I don't hold a grudge against our relatives, but I have no desire to put faces with names either. The year our father bailed on us for good, I almost lost my sister. We were placed in separate foster homes for 3 months, while a caseworker tracked down our great-aunt and arranged for our transfer to LA. If Aunt Maggie had decided she was too tired to raise 2 teenage girls, Lynn and I would have been torn apart. And Lynn, who was only 13 at the time, would have lost the only person she'd ever been able to count on, the mama bear of a big sister who had been her defender and provider from the day our mother died when Lynn was still in diapers. I don't have the time for anyone who failed to keep that from happening, and I have nothing but contempt for the person who set the terrifying wheels in motion. Dean effing Roberts. Bastard jerk-faced jerk, I mutter, attention fixed on the snowy street, half hoping Dean will walk by so I can glare at him until he bursts into flames. He apparently still lives here. Olivia only moved back to town a few days ago, but she was quick to get the dirt and give me the scoop on my old flame. Dean lives in town, in a cottage not far from Evergreen Lane. He works as a wilderness guide, runs a camping supply rental business, and has lunch with his mama every Friday at the elementary school, where she still works as the nurse. Olivia mentioned an ex-girlfriend she didn't think Dean had been too serious about, and some sort of drama with Matilda Williams, the tiniest, shyest girl in elementary school, the one I can't imagine creating a sound above a whisper, let alone any drama. But no matter how much the gossipy part of me wants to know more about both the ex and the drama, I didn't press Olivia for more information. Dean's existence isn't relevant to me. I couldn't care less what that liar is up to or who he's up to it with. He's nothing to me now. Just another ghost haunting a town I can't wait to leave the moment Olivia and I finish our lunch date tomorrow. The only good that would come from seeing Dean would be the satisfaction of looking him in the eye without an ounce of feeling and then turning and walking away. But I don't have the time for grand and chilly gestures either. The storm is kicking into high gear, the snow getting deeper, and there are fewer and fewer people on the street outside the cafe. If I'm going to check into my hotel near the slopes before the storm strands me in downtown, I need to make tracks. The mountain passes will be treacherous by later this afternoon. I finish my biscuits and gravy, thank Maddie O'Sullivan for a delicious meal, and leave a generous tip because Maddie's mom was always so generous with me back in the day. From the time I was a kid coming in for breakfast on the rare weekend when my old man hadn't lost his paycheck to the slots, Sandy O'Sullivan always slipped me an extra side or two for free. It was as if she knew that I couldn't always count on a morning meal, let alone bacon with my pancakes. "Good to see you back in town, Macy," Maddie says as he collects my signed check from the table, a warm expression on his guileless face. He was always a gentle giant, and it doesn't look like much has changed in the past decade. "You gotta come back for happy hour while you're here. We've got a killer Christmas brew this season, and our IPA won gold at the state fair last fall." "Congratulations, that's amazing. I'd love to taste both, but I'm on a tight schedule this trip." I push my chair away from the table and reach for my coat and purse. "I'm on an evening flight out of Denver tomorrow. My clients get antsy if I'm gone for more than a few days at a time." "You're some sort of guru or something now, right?" Maddie asks. His tone so sweet, I can't get annoyed at the misrepresentation of my life's work. "Not really. I do massage therapy for people with chronic pain and help them manage their symptoms with meditation. I have a loyal following, but I wouldn't call myself a guru." "Oh, well, that sounds great too," Maddie grins. "Olivia and Daisy were in the other day. They said your business is kicking ass, but I wasn't surprised. You always had your shit together, even when we were kids. Seemed like there wasn't anything you weren't good at." Except figuring out who I should trust and avoiding getting my heart broken into 1,000 pieces. The thought is all the confirmation I need that getting out of Lover's Leap ASAP is the best thing to do. I'd love to have more time to spend with Olivia, to catch up with Daisy, and to sample the Fish and Bicycles brews, but this town does things to me. Bad things. It aggravates old wounds, the ones that roughed up my heart when I was still too young to know how to process that kind of pain. The ones that have never fully healed, not the way they're supposed to. It's better if I get in and out as quickly as possible and get back to LA, where the weather is sunny and so am I. LA Macy doesn't growl into her coffee or glare at the street thinking about setting people on fire with her eyeballs. L.A. Macy is the friendly neighborhood speedwalker who always stops to chat, pet your dog, and talk smog and Santa Ana winds. L.A. Macy has even learned to live with the hellish city traffic, though she secretly prefers days when she doesn't have to leave her cozy Venice office to make house calls, and dreams of opening a retreat center somewhere quiet and having her clients come to her. L.A. Macy also has hope, loads of it. She has hope that someday she'll find that perfect for her work situation, and then her good life will get even better. She believes in a wide-open future filled with opportunity, adventure, and maybe even love in store when the stars align and bring Mr. Right into her orbit. But in Lover's Leap, it's too easy to slip into the skin of the hopeless girl I once was, the one who watched through a social worker's car window as Dean grew smaller in the distance, and my heart broke so hard even my practical sister agrees it made a noise. It was a soft crack that filled the back seat, vibrating in the air as we were spirited away. So I don't linger any longer over friendly conversation. I hug Matty goodbye, wish him all the luck in the world with his brews and business, and get on the road, setting my Elantra on a course for the Summit Hotel. As a teen, I drove these roads hundreds of times, sitting behind the wheel of Dean's old truck, learning how to drive from the boy next door, instead of the father who was never around. I don't expect to have any trouble getting to my hotel. I'm sure everything will be fine. But I should know better than to take anything for granted, especially around here. Not 10 miles from town, I hit a patch of black ice and go spinning. God, don't let me die in Lover's Leap, screaming through my head as the car rushes toward the guardrail. I can't go out like this. Not like this. Not in the one place I've vowed to put in my rearview mirror forever. Just like in the movies, my life rushes past my eyes, filled with love and regret and a few too many scenes featuring Dean Roberts. I think about his warm brown eyes and his kiss and the way he always knew exactly what to say to make me smile, to make me laugh, to make me feel loved and understood. A part of me wishes that I'd been able to feel the way I felt with my first love one more time before it was all over. But wishing won't heal a broken heart or stop a car speeding toward a giant tree en route to a head-on collision.
Chapter 4. Dean. It's beginning to look a lot like payday. Everywhere you go, I belt out the words, accompanied by the heater purring in the cab of my truck. It's a damned nice ride. A tricked-out Toyota Tacoma, a present to myself 3 years ago on the 4th anniversary of the grand opening of Lover's Leap Outdoor Adventures. Getting my business in the black in the first year felt like an accomplishment worthy of a splurge. Of course, if I'd known then that Mom's arthritis was going to get so bad she would have trouble continuing to work, I wouldn't have paid cash for the truck. But I've managed to sort out the money situation, and I can't deny I love this machine and its steadiness on the mountain roads. Years of driving a beater that could barely make it up the hill at the edge of town make a man grateful for a reliable vehicle. Hell, I'm grateful for a lot of things. I'm grateful for my thriving business and debt-free lifestyle, for the holiday season I'm about to celebrate with my family and friends, for the gorgeous mountain town I'm lucky enough to call home, and for the sexy stripper Santa costume I impulsively picked up at a half-price sale last year, thinking I might want to surprise Hannah with something naughty next Christmas. Hannah, of course, is long gone, engaged to the guy she cheated on me with last Valentine's Day, but my sexy Santa gear has proven to be the best investment I've ever made. I bless the day I tossed it into my cart while trolling a novelty store for half-price peppermint fudge. And because I'm a pragmatic man, I'm also grateful that I didn't realize how much money a decent-looking guy could make wiggling his ass when I was an 18-year-old kid, dying to strike out on my own straight out of high school. That knowledge would have been too much too soon. Better that sexy Santa came into my life now, when I have the maturity to know butt wiggling is all well and good, but not a sustainable long-term career choice. I've been having a damned good time taking it all off, but once I earn enough to pay off the second mortgage Mom took out on the cabin last year, I'll happily put my part-time stripper days behind me. Though, I won't hesitate to pass the costume on to any friends in need of a life-changing amount of cash. In just 2 months, I've earned over 10 grand, working nights and weekends, providing PG-13 adult entertainment to the sleepy hamlets near Lover's Leap. I won an amateur night show in Breckenridge, burned a flaming money-lined pathway through the Girls' Night Secret Santa circuit in early December, and topped it off with a one-man show at a cosmetics convention in Manitou Springs last weekend that left the stage littered with dollar bills and phone numbers scrawled on napkins in ruby red lipstick. And just this afternoon, I made Beatrice Prince's 81st birthday one to remember with a 3-song set at the Hidden Hills retirement home. Beatrice declined to sit on my lap. She just had a hip replacement. But she was all too happy to tuck a few crisp dollar bills in the waist of Santa's boxer briefs. I'd elected to forego the peppermint-striped G-string that came with the suit in the interest of good taste and holding my head up in public in my hometown. The entertainment firm I'm working with agreed not to book me at any events directly in Lover's Leap, but the mountain community isn't a big one. I realized going into this there was a chance I'd end up performing for someone I knew. With that in mind, I kept my act relatively clean, or at least clean enough that I won't blush 10 different shades of red if I run into someone at the grocery store who's seen me jingle my bells. But so far, I've gotten lucky, and after just 2 performances, I'll be in the clear. It's only 8 days until Christmas and my impending retirement. Colorado snow flurries and roaring fires will be in fashion until the March thaw, but come December 26th, Santa and his elves will pack up their wares for another year. The festive zing will be gone from the air, replaced by grumbles about diets and heavy sighs as people who have had a few too many chestnuts roasted on the open fire force themselves off the couch. I've already seen an uptick in locals wanting to book my 10-mile cross-country skiing trip, one of the many outdoor adventures provided by my expertly trained guides. Soon, I'll be pulling in money for keeping people safe on the trails instead of shaking my tail feather. And I won't be sad to see Santa go. At least, not too sad. The suit does get uncomfortable. The pants are skin tight, leaving very little to the imagination when I'm standing up, and becoming downright torturous when I'm sitting down. We're talking a might not be able to father children level of tightness. And though I adore Miller and don't regret agreeing to be a sperm donor for a single second, I would like to have children of my own someday. A son or daughter I'll be able to tuck in every night instead of dropping him or her off at the legal parent's house for bedtime. And that's not going to happen if I spend many more hours in these velvet pants. I shift in my seat for the 10th time since setting out from Hidden Hills, rearranging the Yule log and holly berries with a wince. The fact that I just called my a fucking Yule log is another strong sign that it's time to retire before I become one of those weird people who keep their snow village on display all year long. I make a mental note to ask my friend Colton if he has any interest in a lightly used stripper outfit. We're roughly the same size, and Colt has a reputation with the ladies that would segue nicely into a side gig as a pelvic sorcerer, and slow for the next turn. The roads are getting bad, really bad. The thought is barely through my head when I ease around the mountainside to see a black Elantra skidding across a patch of ice. The car shoots onto the shoulder, moving so fast it plows through the rickety guardrail and plummets over the edge in a heartbeat, taking my breath along with it. My stomach drops and my mouth fills with the rancid taste of fear as I jerk the truck onto the shoulder and shove it into park. Heart thrashing, I slam out into the snow, leaving the Tacoma running as I race to the edge. A sharp rush of relief pierces my dread when I see the slope is one of the more gentle ones on this stretch of road. It's a 45-degree incline that leads down to the Bear Canyon Ridge Trail, not a sheer drop that would allow the driver almost no chance of survival. And thankfully, the car is already starting to slow as it rolls over tiny evergreens and through snowdrifts, impeding its passage. By the time it collides with a tree big enough to stop it cold, it's only going 30 or 40 miles per hour. Still, the crunch as the front of the car collapses is enough to make me flinch. If the driver wasn't wearing a seatbelt, even a collision at a slower speed could be fatal. Instinctively, I reach for the cell I usually keep tucked in my back pocket, forgetting the Santa pants are incapable of containing anything but my own backside. With a soft curse, I start back to the truck to grab the phone, planning to call 911 on my way down to the car, but a sharp whining sound stops me in my tracks. I spin, watching as the tree the Elantra crashed into begins to lean drunkenly toward the road. It isn't falling, yet, but the next gust of wind could take it down, and chances are a lodgepole pine that size will crush the car flat. There isn't a second to spare, not even to call for help. Heart surging back into my throat, I leap over the brush at the side of the road and into the thigh-high drifts. I fight my way down to the car as fast as I can, the groaning of the wood a haunting soundtrack insisting I move even faster. The snow was coming down hard now, stinging into my eyes and accumulating on my hair. The last forecast said there wouldn't be a break in the storm until morning. By the time the road crews come through tomorrow, everything will be drifted over. If I don't get the driver and any passengers out of the car, anyone still inside will be buried alive, if they survive the impact of a few thousand pounds of tree slamming into the vehicle. Of course, if the tree comes down while I'm pulling people out, there's a chance I'll die too. It's a possibility I accept without slowing my pace. Back in Pee Wee League, one of my football coaches made a big deal out of my bravery on the field, marveling that a kid without a dad could be so fearless in the face of linebackers twice his size. But I didn't need a father figure to teach me how to be brave. I had plenty of badass role models in my life. My grandmother trapped and butchered all her own meat, sometimes dragging bear carcasses twice her size home through the snow, keeping her family fed through the Great Depression, while others on the mountains starved. And my mother has saved choking victims in crowded restaurants, performed CPR on a man who collapsed on the slopes while we were out snowshoeing, and put a kid's thumb on ice after he cut it off in shop, all without breaking a sweat or raising her voice above a soothing whisper. And then there was Macy, who practically raised her sister after their mother died. Macy, who hid money and kept dinner on the table while her father gambled away his paycheck faster with every passing year. Macy, who was determined to go it alone at 15 if that's what it took to keep her and Lynn together, even if it meant doing without so her sister wouldn't have to. In the months after her father left his daughters for good, I watched her lose 10 pounds she couldn't afford to lose and worry lines form on her forehead. I stood by, feeling helpless as she took extra shifts stocking groceries at the market, coming home later and later and dragging through school the next day, propped up by hot tea and packs of sugar in the raw she lifted from the coffee shop. I brought her food and pitched in when I could, but back then I was helping support my own family, paying for utilities and groceries during the lean months. I was 17, still 6 months away from graduating and being able to work a full-time job. And even when I graduated, I'd been enough of a realist to understand that I wouldn't be able to earn enough to support myself, Macy, and Lynn. At least, not soon enough to keep Macy from wasting away to nothing in her quest to keep her family together. Finally, I'd been forced to make the hardest choice of my life, to face facts and to do what was right, even though it hurt like hell. I kissed Macy goodbye one frigid February morning. That afternoon, I placed the call reporting that she and her sister had been abandoned. It broke my heart to watch Macy get into the social worker's car, but I've never regretted it. Not that day or in all the days after when my letters to the girl I loved were returned unopened and the phone number the caseworker gave me rang and rang without anyone picking up. I did what I had to do, the only thing I could have done if I loved Macy as much as I claimed to. I loved her enough to ask for the help she was too proud to ask for herself and to give her a shot at a happy life. I'd loved her enough to give her up. I made peace with all that years ago. Still, when I see a woman with glossy braids trailing down her back, I can't help but think of Macy's silky black hair. And when I drive past the old Clayton place with its empty windows staring down at the road in silent, faded sadness, I can't help but wish things had been different. But I'm not a regretful person by nature. It's been 10 years since I said goodbye to Macy. I've learned to live with the knowledge that I'll never see her again, never know if she's forgiven me or if she'll curse my name until the day she dies. There comes a point in life where you have to let go of the past. I haven't thought about the one who got away this much in a long time, which makes the moment I wrench open the driver's door, revealing a dazed-looking Macy, coughing as she clutches at her seatbelt, all the more surreal. Dean? Macy blinks up at me, clearly as shocked as I am. The realization that she's gotten even prettier in the past decade hits hard, even as I reach across her, popping the clasp on her seatbelt. Come on, we have to get you out of here. It's okay, I'm fine, she says, holding up a hand. I've got money. I can walk back to town and get a tow. You need to get out of the car, I say, my pulse racing as the wind whips harder, making the tree above us groan. Now, right now. Now, Macy, I bark, grabbing her arms and hauling her bodily out of the car and across the snow-covered ground. She yelps, struggling as I drag her through the drifts. Have you lost your mind? And what on earth are you wearing? That... Her words end in a gasp as the tree's complaining becomes a banshee wail. It soars in slow motion through the snow flurry-filled air to slam down on top of the car with an ominous whoomp, smashing the roof into the seats. The silence afterward is as deafening as the crash, the knowledge of how close we came to being trapped, maimed, or worse, swelling inside me until the world starts to spin. Macy glances over her shoulder, her eyes widening. Oh my God, she whispers. The tree. I release her with a sigh. Yeah, the tree. She swallows hard. Thank you. You're welcome, I say, still shaken. My adrenaline is running so high I can barely feel the cold, though my Santa coat isn't thick enough to keep me warm in 20-degree temperatures. Oh, wow. Wow. Macy runs a trembling hand through her hair, brushing away the flakes settling on the ebony strands. I almost died. I almost died in Lover's Leap, and you almost died with me. Her breath rushes out as she mutters under her breath. Who saw this coming when they got up this morning? I exhale sharply, smiling in spite of the close call. Not me, that's for damn sure. I rest a hand on her shoulder, the kitten softness of her blue sweater feeling strange out here in the woods, and the miracle of touching her again even stranger. But it's okay. You're okay, I'm okay, it's all good. All good, she echoes, nodding too fast. You're right, you're fine, I'm fine. You didn't die trying to save my life, and we're both going to be okay. Her forehead wrinkles as she looks up at me, her eyes shining with wonder. I can't believe you did that. Risked your life, for me. Well, I didn't know it was you until I opened the door, I say with a laugh, realizing it's the wrong thing to say the second the words pass my lips. What the hell am I thinking? I should have said, of course I'd risk my life for you, Maze. Once you love someone the way I loved you, it never goes away. Even if you hate me, I'm always going to care about you. I'm always going to want to know you're happy and healthy and out there making your dreams come true. Or maybe something a little less crazy like, I'll always be there when you need me, or just anytime. But instead, I opened my mouth and dumbness came out, and now her bright blue eyes are shuddering against me. Right. Her lips thin into a tight line. Of course you didn't know it was me. Sorry. I guess I'm still pretty shaken up. No, I'm sorry. I rack my brain for the perfect words to tell her that I still have foot and mouth disease. Macy knows that about me. I always say the wrong thing at the wrong time ever since we were kids. Hopefully, once I remind her that I'm conversationally impaired, we can laugh about it and get back on track to being friends again. Or maybe more than friends. The thought is inappropriate, impractical, and has no place in the current stressful situation, but I can't help myself. She's still so beautiful, so familiar, so Macy. One look into those blue eyes and all the old feelings come rushing back, making me think I haven't put as many things in the past as I've assumed. I can't tell her that, of course, but I can at least make up for being an idiot. A self-deprecating joke is forming on my lips when a heavy schwump sounds from the road above, followed by the shush of packed snow unpacking itself with help from gravity and the steep slope leading down into the ravine. Macy's eyes go round, and my pulse surges back into overdrive. As if responding to a starting gun, we both turn and begin hauling ass down the slope. Neither of us says a word. We don't have to. We were born and raised in these mountains, and we know the sound of an avalanche in the making when we hear one.
Chapter 5. Avalanche, avalanche, avalanche! My thoughts helpfully wail the obvious as I push myself to run faster. But the snow is up to my waist, soaking through the fabric of my leggings, chilling the muscles I need to run. I'm breathing faster but running slower, all while the deceptively benign-sounding hush of sliding snow gets closer and closer, the avalanche threatening to bury me alive, ensuring I never make it out of Lover's Leap. I'm in the best shape of my life, but no amount of muscle can make up for the fact that I'm only 5'3" and waist-deep in thickly packed snow. So when Dean reaches back and shouts, "Take my hand," I don't hesitate. I grab on and hold tight, letting him pull me along through the drifts until we reach a stretch of flatter land beside a creek. There, the water is frozen, but it hasn't been for long. The rocks next to the creek bed are still mostly snow-free, hinting that the water was flowing not long ago, before it contracted into crystal on the stones. We hit the bare rocks, and I let go of Dean's hand, pumping my arms hard at my sides, while Dean follows suit. We literally run for our lives, sprinting beside the frozen water for 10 feet, 20, 50, until finally the rush of sliding snow grows quiet, and we stumble to a stop, leaning over to brace our hands on our knees as we suck in air. Dean looks up, cursing at the snow covering the mountain and the road above. "Rest in peace, white truck." I swallow against the metal taste rising in my mouth. What the hell was that? It's too early in the season for an avalanche. "I think it was the tree." Dean stands, swiping the sleeve of his weirdly tight and completely sexy Santa suit across his upper lip. "It must have hit the mountain above the road when it fell and dislodged the snowpack." I wrap my arms tight around my torso in a feeble attempt to hold in my body heat. I'm too ramped up from the run and the near-death experience to be cold right now, but I'm going to be. I left my jacket, mittens, and hat in the car, along with my purse and cell phone. Cell phone? I turn to Dean. "Are you getting cell service?" He shoots me a grim look. "I don't know. I left my cell in the truck." My teeth dig into my lip as my anxiety spikes hard and fast. Shit. What are we going to do? "Well," Dean sighs as he squints up at the wall of snow. "There's no way we're getting back up to the road over all that." "Maybe we can go around and climb up to the highway somewhere else?" He shakes his head. "Not going to happen. At least, not fast enough. The only place we'd have a shot of getting up the incline without rock climbing equipment is at least a 40-minute hike, and then we'd have the walk back to town after that. If we're out here that long, we'll get hypothermia. Neither of us is dressed for the weather." He props his hands low on his hips, drawing my attention to the way the red fabric hugs certain areas. Certain intimate areas. Geez, what is up with this Santa suit? It leaves absolutely nothing to the imagination and is clearly not suitable for viewing by children, or anyone with a heart condition, or by ex-girlfriends who are suddenly reminded of just how incredible this man looks without his clothes on. I glance up quickly, a flush heating my cheeks. The last thing I want to do is get caught staring at Dean's crotch or any other part of his body, though with this getup, it's hard to avoid. The tight velvet coat stretches across his shoulders, making them look impossibly broad. The black, silver-buckled Santa belt cinches tight around his waist, confirming that his abs are as flat and toned as they were when he was a teenager. And as he turns to pace a few steps away, the view from the back is enough to make my mouth go dry. I close my eyes, mentally chastising myself. This is ridiculous. Dean and I both nearly died twice, and we aren't out of the woods, literally or figuratively, yet. Now isn't the time to admire how round and firm his backside looks in his Santa suit. Then when is a good time? If you're going to die of exposure, might as well enjoy the view on the way out. Not helping, I mutter to the inner voice. What's that? Dean turns back to me, one eyebrow cocked. Nothing, I mumble. Just ticking through our options. Maybe we can follow the creek to the river, cross over, and hitch a ride into town that way? Good in theory, but the river isn't completely frozen. I was down there last week for ice fishing, and we didn't even need our picks. I could smash through the ice with the heel of my boot. And even if it were frozen, that's still a decent hike to the other side of town, and we could end up walking it all. There won't be many cars out on the road in weather like this. He motions to his left, into the forest where the trees grow thick and close. I think we should head down the trail this way a mile or so. He lifts a hand, cutting off my protest before it can form. There's a ranger station near here, a new one, built just a few years ago. The rangers were pulled out in advance of the storm, but I know the combination to the back door. The staff gave it to me in case I ever get into trouble with one of my cross-country skiing tour groups. So we'll be able to keep warm while we call for help and wait for rescue. I'm tempted to tease him about being the best Boy Scout ever, the way I would have when we were kids. But then I remember that I hate him, or at least don't like him very much, and that he never intended to save me, Macy, his ex-girlfriend. I'm simply the recipient of a generic good deed. I'm not special to Dean, and I would be smart to keep my guard up and my jokes to myself. All right. I wrap my arms tighter around my rapidly cooling body. Then let's get going. The last report I heard said the storm is only going to get worse. I glance up at the bare aspen limbs, dark against the ash-gray sky. And it won't be long until the sun goes down behind those clouds, and it starts to get really cold. Still a mountain girl at heart, I see. Dean's full lips curve up on one side, the sexy half-smile so familiar it makes my heart ache. Dean is all grown up, bigger and broader and every inch a man. But when he smiles like that, it's so hard not to think of the past. When we were young and in love, and no problem seemed too big, so long as we could tackle it together. But one problem had been too big, and instead of talking it through and finding a solution, Dean had thrown me to the wolves. The thought lends a chilly note to my voice as I say, "No, I'm a city girl these days. LA all the way. I can't wait to get back to a place where the roads don't ice, there are no avalanches or snow up to my eyebrows, and I won't have to worry about freezing to death in the middle of the forest ever again." Dean's smile fades. Understandable. And you're right. We should get moving. If we don't run into any more trouble, we can be at the ranger station in 15 minutes. 15 minutes. It isn't a lot of time, but I intend to use every moment to firm up the walls of my heart and remind my stupid libido that it doesn't matter if Dean is walking, talking, jingle bell rocking sexy in that stupid Santa suit. He's also a betrayer who never even bothered to ask for forgiveness. He's had 10 years to write a letter or make a call, but all I ever got from him was a wave goodbye. Jaw set and willpower ratcheted up to full strength, I tromp through the snow behind Dean, concentrating on the cold wind cutting through my clothes, the way the temperature drops sharply as we trudge into the shadows beneath the trees, and the painful throb of my sinuses as they ache in the freezing air. I embrace the suffering of my physical body, hoping it will banish the awareness of the sexy as sin man my first love has grown up to be, and quiet the voice in my head insisting that Dean and I aren't finished with each other. Not by a long shot.
Chapter 6. The ranger station is dark and shuttered, the large windows of the main room covered over with plywood to protect them from falling tree limbs or snowdrifts so deep and heavy they can smash through the glass. The invisible sun has dropped lower behind the clouds, but it's the thick evergreens growing in this part of the forest that are responsible for the sudden dip in temperature. Here, under the pine boughs, perpetual twilight reigns. On a summer day, the shade provides a welcome break from the heat. On an autumn afternoon, it can be a little creepy to move out of the crisp fall air and into the murky light. Today, with the winter storm howling through the trees and the shadows deepening to full-blown gloom, the ranger station looks like something out of a horror movie, a place where ditzy college kids go to die by serial killer or abominable snowman attack. So, which one of us is the axe murderer going to take out first, do you think? I ask, using my boot to clear the snow away from the back door's stoop. Macy, whose lips have gone an unhealthy shade of blue, shivers in response. Don't make jokes. It's too cold for jokes. Right. I flex my fingers, trying to get my blood flowing. Hang on. Just a few more minutes and we'll have a space heater and all the hot cocoa you can drink. Or at least I hope we will. It's awfully dark in there, even taking into consideration the fact that the staff was summoned home early this morning as soon as the Parks Department realized how bad the storm was going to get. I'm glad Tilly, who's been stationed here for the past year, is safe in town, tucked under fleece blankets in her living room, while she and Miller watch Elf for the 15th time, but it would be nice to see some sign of life inside. There isn't so much as a sliver of light visible through the window set into the door. If the power is out, I suppose we'll have to improvise with blankets and firewood to keep warm and hope electricity is restored by morning. Even if the phone is working and we can contact emergency services, chances are we'll have to sit tight until the storm passes. As long as we aren't in immediate danger of freezing to death and neither of us is hurt, it's safer for everyone involved if we wait out the worst and the team comes to fetch us tomorrow, which means spending the night with Macy. Macy, who is all grown up, more beautiful than ever, and giving me a shoulder colder than the icicles clinging to the awning overhead. She didn't speak a friendly word to me the entire hike, shutting down every attempt at conversation with terse answers that made it clear she still hates me like butt sores on top of butt sores. The realization makes me sad. Not guilty. I did what I had to do and tried my best to make amends afterward, but still, I can't help wishing things were different. I've missed her, this woman whose hand still feels so familiar in mine despite the decade we've spent apart. And we're in, I say, relief coursing through me as my stiff fingers finally work the combination to the panel lock in the correct order. Come in and warm up. I'll go hit the lights. I push open the door, moving into the narrow back hallway and relative warmth of the ranger station, with Macy close on my heels. I reach the switch at the end of the hall in just a few steps, but as I feared, the power is out. It's still warmer inside the station than it is outside, but with no electricity and the heat shut down, it might not stay that way for long. Dean? Macy's voice drifts through the near blackness, small and plaintive. Should I open the door again? Can you see to find the lights? The electricity is out, I say, adding quickly. But we'd better keep the door closed. We don't want to let out what heat is left in the building. I know where they keep their emergency equipment. I'll find us some flashlights and be right back, okay? Are you good to stay here by yourself? I'm fine, she says stiffly. I'm a grown woman. I'm not afraid of the dark anymore. All right, good. Well then, I'll be back soon. I start toward the office, but her words stay with me, sending a memory drifting through my head. A memory of Macy rapping softly on my window in the middle of the night, her pale face like a beautiful ghost floating in the darkness. I open the window and let her in, pulling back the covers as she crawls into bed and curls against my side. I'm sorry, she says, shivering, though it's a warm night for early December. The power is out at our place and I couldn't stand being alone in the dark. Lynn's spending the night at Becky's. It's okay. I wrap my arms around her, kissing her forehead. You know I love sharing a pillow. But you have to be at work at 5 a.m. I've already had 4 hours sleep. Who needs more than that? I smooth a hand down her spine to the curve of her bottom, fighting the wave of awareness spreading through me, though I know it's a lost cause. I've spent almost every night with Macy lately, sneaking over to her place after my mom's asleep and sneaking back home early in the morning, and each one ends the same way. With me so desperate to be with her, there are times I have to excuse myself for a middle-of-the-night cold shower. I don't want to rush her. Until she makes it clear she's ready for the next step, I'm determined to play it cool and follow her lead. Sorry, I mumble, wincing as she shifts her leg, rubbing against me through the sweatpants I wore to bed. God, it feels so good, it's almost painful. Don't be sorry, she whispers. I have a confession to make. What's that? I bring my hands to her waist. This is part of the reason I came over. She leans down, bringing her mouth a whisper away from mine. I was scared, but I was also horny, I ask, wiggling my eyebrows. She laughs. Ew, no, I hate that word. Frisky? That better? So much better, she says, rocking tentatively against me. Good for you? So good. Better than good. Her breath hitches. Will it be like this when we're really together? Better, I promise. I'm going to make it so good for you, Maze. I swear it. Then let's do it now. I'm ready, Dean. I want you so much. We can't, I say, even as a voice in my head howls, yes, we can, don't be stupid. But that voice isn't thinking about the bigger picture. Your dad just left a week ago. Macy's hips still, and I bite back a groan. What does my dad have to do with whether or not we have sex? You're upset, I say, fighting to think straight. And you have every right to be, but I don't want you to sleep with me because you're upset and then regret it later. I want you to be with me because it's right and you're ready. It is right, and I am ready. We've only been dating a few weeks. But I've known you forever. I know you, Dean, and I want you to be my first. I want you to feel good. I want to make you feel the way you make me feel. You do, baby, even just like this. Lift your arms. I'll show you. I live for this, would die for even just one more night with her, getting lost in her kiss and all the overwhelming things I feel when she's in my arms. It's one of my most treasured memories, in fact, remaining ensconced in my personal erotic hall of fame. But I didn't take any of my time with Macy lightly, and there's nothing funny about the straining the seams of my Santa suit as I fetch flashlights, blankets, and a couple of camping pillows from the supply closet next to the head ranger's office. There's nothing funny about how much I want to march back into that hallway, pull Macy into my arms, and kiss her until she remembers how hot it was between us. Hot and sweet and right. So right. Maybe it's because we were young, or because we were friends for so long before our relationship became something more. Or maybe it's just that we were each other's first loves, but no woman has ever touched the places in my heart that Macy did, or made me feel the things Macy made me feel. I can't help but wonder if some part of her, the part that looked happy to see me for a few minutes back there in the woods, feels it too. The pull, the attraction, the tension in the air that seems to promise that our story isn't finished. It isn't the ranger station or the forest that's haunted. It's Macy and me. Where's a Ghostbuster when you need one? I mutter as I click the flashlight on and head into the break room to grab snacks. I'm not sure if Macy's hungry, but I haven't had anything to eat since breakfast 9 hours ago. I skipped lunch, planning to grab a beer and a burger at the Fish and Bicycle on the way home, and my stomach is going to devour itself if I don't put something in it soon. I'm in the middle of tucking granola bars, almonds, and a half-eaten bag of Fritos into one of the pillowcases I grabbed from the supply closet when Macy screams, a horror movie scream that makes me drop everything but the flashlight and start running.
Chapter 7. Oh my God, oh my God. I press against the door so hard the wood bruises my shoulder blades, but no matter how desperately I will matter to dissolve, I haven't yet melted through the door to the other side. Meanwhile, the giant rat that just ran over my foot is standing on its hind legs no more than a yard away, silently daring me to step forward far enough to open the door. And when I do, it will lunge at me with its yellow teeth bared, ripping into my leg and infecting me with rabies or the plague or whatever other disease its terrifying pink-tailed rat body is carrying around. My lips part in a scream for help. Maybe Dean can kick the rat out of the way long enough for us both to escape out into the cold where we can die of frostbite like civilized people. When he appears at the end of the hallway, holding a flashlight, he shines directly into my eyes. "What's wrong?" he asks, his voice tight with worry. "Are you—" "No, not me." Blinking fast, I jab a frantic finger at the floor. "Don't shine it on me, shine it on the rat! The rat!" The light swings away, and Dean lets out a sigh of relief. "Shit. You scared me. I thought you'd had another near-death experience." "I did! I am. I'm having one right now." I push up onto tiptoe as the rat scuttles toward me, out of the pool of light, clearly not enjoying having a flashlight in its face any more than I did. "That's a giant rat, Dean, with giant rat teeth." He chuckles at that, the bastard. No, that's Tom Hanks. I blink, and a hysterical bark of laughter escapes my still chilled lips. Have you lost your mind since the last time I saw you? Is that why you're walking around the woods in a Santa suit? My friend Tilly is one of the rangers stationed here. She names all their pet rats. This one is Tom Hanks. He glances over his shoulder, jabbing a thumb behind him. There used to be another one named Meg Ryan, but she got out of their cage a few weeks ago. Tilly thinks she must have escaped into the woods when someone left the door open. Dean ambles slowly closer. Guess Tom got out too. Give me a sec. I'll see if I can get him back in. Tom, who is clearly not a fan of going back into his cage, shoots past Dean into the darkness. I, not a fan of sudden movements on the part of rodents, squeal and press a hand to my chest, wondering if it's possible to die of a terror-induced heart attack at the tender age of 25. Oh my God, I bleat, my heart slamming against my palm. Now he's out there in the dark somewhere, lying in wait for us. Dean eases closer, close enough for me to smell his soap and peppermint scent and to feel his body heat warming the air around me. He was always a furnace of a person, all I needed to keep warm on even the coldest winter night. I thought you weren't afraid of the dark anymore, he says, having the nerve to sound amused. I'm not, I insist, my heart beating even faster. I'm afraid of a giant evil rat loose in the dark with his giant evil rat teeth. Tom's never bitten anyone that I know of. I'm pretty sure he's harmless. Pretty sure isn't good enough when it comes to rats. Dean nods, his expression unreadable in the dim glow of the flashlight he's directed toward the floor. How about when it comes to me? Because I was an idiot back there before the avalanche. Yes, it's true I didn't know you were the person in the car when I started down the hill, but if I had, I would have run even faster. He exhales, a sad but tender sound that makes my chest ache. Your life is important to me, Macy. It always has been. I want us to be clear on that. My jaw slides from one side to the other as I pull in a breath, torn between what I should say and what I want to say, between nursing old wounds and reaching out to mend a relationship that ended badly. Isn't life too short to hold on to old grudges? And don't I tell my clients that vengeful thoughts are the fastest way to lose your life to demons who suck all the love and light out of the world? And I'm sorry I hurt you, too, Dean adds in a softer voice, and that we never got the chance to see where things would have gone between us. Believe me, the last thing I wanted was for you to leave town. I wouldn't have called social services if I'd thought there was any other solution. No, on second thought, sometimes life isn't too short to hold grudges. Or to hold people responsible for being arrogant assholes who take other people's lives into their own hands without stopping to think about the far-reaching consequences of their actions. I wasn't your problem to fix. Anger dumps into my blood. I was your girlfriend, and you lied to me, Dean. You betrayed my trust. And if my aunt hadn't decided to take us in, Lynn and I would have ended up separated, in foster care in 2 different cities, all because of you. You were 15, Macy, he says gently. You weren't equipped to take care of yourself by yourself, let alone to raise your sister. I cross my arms. I was doing just fine. He grunts. You were going hungry so Lynn could eat. And you were stressed out all the time about the power getting shut off before the snow stopped falling. I was there. I saw it. You were a wreck, and it killed me to watch you suffer. I lift my chin sharply into the air. You didn't look too broken up the day you waved goodbye from the front porch of your happy little home. He goes still, not saying a word for a long, tense moment. I can sense the hurt rolling off of him in waves, but I refuse to feel bad about it. He's the one who lied to me and then went on with his life like nothing had happened. Like he'd never known a girl named Macy, let alone sworn that he loved her. That he would always love her. You know that's not true, he finally says. Standing there, watching you leave. His jaw clenches hard enough for me to see the muscles knot, even in the dim light. It felt like my heart was getting ripped out of my chest. But even then, I knew I'd done the right thing. Because I loved you. I loved you so much, I had to let you go. I sniff, fighting the press of tears. If you loved me so much, why didn't you write, or call, or make some effort to get in touch with me? I mean, I know I was hopelessly behind the times not having an email account, but the social worker swore she gave you my aunt's address. What are you talking about? The frustration and disbelief in his tone cut through the pain clutching at my ribs. I did write, Macy. Dozens of times. You sent my letters back unopened. No, I didn't, I protest. I never saw a single letter, Dean, not one. He shakes his head, a frown bunching his brows. I mailed them to the address the social worker gave me, the one in L.A., on Maryvale Lane. I called the phone number she gave me too, but no one ever picked up. My aunt, I murmur, a door I'd thought was locked forever creaking open inside of me. It must have been Aunt Maggie. She was crazy when it came to boys and dating. Lynn and I weren't even allowed to meet people at the movies until after we graduated from high school. I didn't have my second boyfriend until I was a freshman in college. I shake my head again, wonder and fear swelling inside me as I lift my gaze to Dean's. Could it really have been a misunderstanding? At least part of it? I don't know why I didn't think of that before, I whisper. Why I didn't consider that Maggie might have kept your letters from me. Dean tips his head down, bringing his face closer to mine. You didn't consider it because you trusted your family, and because you hated me. I didn't hate you. Not really, I confess, the words spilling out into the cool air, taking the tightness in my chest with them. I just felt deceived, tricked by one of the only people I'd ever trusted. It messed me up for a long time. And I blink hard. I missed you. So much. I missed you too, he says. Every time I looked out the window at your house and realized you weren't in it anymore, I would get sick. Literally sick. My mother thought I had food poisoning for the first couple of weeks. I nod, totally understanding that sucker punch to the gut sensation. It was the way I felt every time I woke up in L.A., fresh from dreams of Dean, only to realize I was hundreds of miles away from the boy I loved and would probably never see him again. I couldn't even think about Lover's Leap. It made me so sad I'd hide under the covers all day staring at that picture of us. The one your mom took on Thanksgiving when we were wearing those ridiculous turkey hats Lynn knitted. Remember? I do. He laughs, a quiet, careful laugh that has longing wrapped up at the heart of it. Those crazy hats. I missed that after you left. All the fun we used to have. I missed it as much as sneaking over to kiss you goodnight. He pauses before adding in a thicker voice. If I remember correctly, Clayton, you kiss like a house on fire. I huff as my lips curve, mesmerized by the feel of his fingers smoothing my hair from my face. Like a house on fire? What does that even mean? Your kiss sucks all the oxygen out of a room, out of the world. He braces his hand on the door behind me, leaning in so close I can feel his breath warming my lips. I tip my head back, my throat stitching tight with fear and hope. Could this really be happening? With a history like ours, is it possible to start over? Or maybe just pick up where we left off? Looking at him now, it feels like no time has passed at all, like I'm still the same girl who knew exactly what made Dean Roberts tick, what made him laugh, what made him angry, what made him think. Where he was ticklish, how he'd gotten every scar on his gorgeous body, and all the ways to touch him to make him moan my name. I'm on the verge of reaching out, bridging the distance, of wrapping my arms around him and letting a kiss do the rest of my talking for me, when something warm wiggles between our legs, and I scream directly into Dean's face. He rears back, laughing as he trains the flashlight on the chubby white rat sitting on top of my boot. Oh my God, get him away, please! I squeak, tiptoeing backward until the rat steps daintily off my shoe and onto the carpet. For the love of all that's holy, take Tom back to his cage. That isn't Tom. That's Meg Ryan. Tilly's going to be so glad we found her. He squats down, scooping the plush rat up in his big hands. Meg Ryan chitters in response, seeming pleased to be in Dean's care. But then Meg is a girl rat, and I doubt a female of any species has ever been bummed to have Dean Roberts' hands all over her. "Down, girl," I whisper to myself as I follow Dean into the main room, where the rats are apparently caged. It isn't time to start thinking about Dean's big hands all over anyone. We just started mending fences. We need to take things slow and cautiously consider where we go from here. If we go anywhere from here, seeing as we live in 2 different time zones. But even as the logical part of my brain embraces caution, the part of my heart I placed in the deep freeze the day I left Lover's Leap, the part that believed first love could become forever love, and that Dean was the only man I'd ever want to share my life with, begins to thaw, melting into a puddle at my sexy Santa's feet.
Chapter 8. 20 minutes later, I've tucked Meg Ryan back in her cage, started a fire in the fireplace in the main room, and tracked down bottles of water to go with our snack dinner. I've arranged the blankets and pillows by the fire, checked the phone again, still not working, and returned to find Macy constructing a fence of spare firewood around the perimeter of our indoor campsite. "Just in case," she says, smiling as she glances up to find me watching her. "I don't want any more rats sneaking up on me." I grin in response. Damn, I've missed her smile. Good idea. I'm sure Tom will show up sooner or later. He likes to be where the food is. Macy claps her hands together. "Yes, food." She gestures toward 2 plates set on the edge of the brick fireplace. "I took the liberty of making you a plate. I hope that's okay." That's perfect. I step over the Tom barrier, settling cross-legged in front of the fire. I'm starving. "I think you'll be pleased with the chef's selection," she says in a polished voice. "Our special tonight is a ragu of trail mix topped with chocolate chip granola bar with a side of salted pecans and a garnish of slightly stale Fritos." I say, nodding seriously. They're always best when they're slightly stale. My compliments to the chef. She laughs and I reach out, squeezing her knee. "You're good at that, the food presentation." She shrugs. "I waited tables in college, paid my way through 4 grueling years of nursing school so I could work at a doctor's office for a grand total of 6 months before deciding I wanted to get certified to be a massage therapist and meditation teacher instead." "I bet you were a good nurse," I say, popping a pecan into my mouth. "I was a sad nurse." Macy collects a combo of nuts and dried fruit, pinching them between her fingers. "I got sympathy pains every time I had to draw blood. I prefer making people suffer on my massage table. At least that pain is helping them feel better. And it's not real pain, not like jabbing a needle into a 3-year-old's tiny arm." I hum around a bite of chocolate chip granola bar. "You always did have a soft heart." She sits up straighter. "Do not. I'm tough as nails." "Tough as nails on the outside," I say with a wink. "Squishy heart on the inside." My smile fades as I think about how deeply that squishy heart must have been hurt all those years ago. "I'm sorry my letters didn't get through to you, Maze. I feel like an asshole." She frowns. "Don't be crazy. You weren't the asshole. Aunt Maggie was the asshole." She runs a hand through her hair with a sigh. "And she probably doesn't even remember doing it. She was already going downhill when Lynn and I went to live with her. These days, when we visit her at our cousin's house in San Diego, she only remembers us about half the time. If things get much worse, she may have to go into an assisted living facility." That's tough. But assisted living doesn't have to be a bad situation. I was at a nursing home this afternoon for a performance. It was a nice place, and those ladies were having the time of their lives. Kept me on my toes, that's for damn sure. "Did they now?" Macy arches a brow, her lips curving on one side as she points a pecan accusingly in my direction. "Call me crazy, Dean Roberts, but I'm starting to put the pieces of this Santa outfit puzzle together, and they're making a pretty weird picture. You have anything you want to confess?" My grin widens. "Sure, I like confession. I was out of town today doing a Santa strip show for an old lady's birthday party." Macy's jaw drops as she slaps my leg. "No, you were not." "I was," I assure her. "That's what you were thinking, right?" "Well, yes." Her giggle tinkles through the air like music, reminding me why I always loved to make her laugh. But I didn't think I was actually right. You were. I toss another pecan into my mouth. Beatrice turned 81 today and celebrated by slipping a few bills into my boxer briefs. I don't do the G-string. I figured that was more than the sweet old soul's heart could handle, and I'm not a G-string kind of guy. I like to leave a little something to the imagination, if you know what I mean. Macy laughs harder, her cheeks turning red as she drops her granola bar back onto her plate. I'm sorry. I keep imagining the scene. What on earth made you decide to take off your clothes for an old woman's birthday? Was it a dare? Did you lose a bet? I roll a casual shoulder. Just trying to earn a little extra cash. And it's not just old lady birthday parties, Clayton. I've been getting around. I regale Macy with my exploits from the past few months, making her laugh until she snorts water and I have to wait for her to finish coughing to finish my story. But sadly, my reign as sexy Santa of the Rockies is about to come to an end. Oh no, she waves a hand in front of her flushed face. How sad. But I guess that's to be expected now that Christmas is almost here. So what's next? Big bad Easter bunny? I laugh. Nah, I'm retiring. I've saved up enough to pay off the second mortgage Mom took out on the cabin. Without that weighing on her, she'll have enough coming in from her pension to retire early. Her arthritis is getting bad, and she could use more time off of her feet. Macy's expression softens. Oh, well then, of course. Of course what? I ask, finishing off the last of our strange but oddly delicious meal. Of course you're stripping to pay off your mother's mortgage. I should have known it would be something like that. She smiles fondly. You're the stripper with the heart of gold. The stripper with the buns of steel, you mean. Her smile takes on a sultry edge. Well, that too. But it's still very sweet. It's not sweet at all, Sugar Plum. I stand, towing aside the pillow I've been sitting on and interlacing my fingers behind my head. It's the kind of stuff that could get a person on the naughty list. I do a slow hip roll that ends in a pelvic thrust, and Macy bursts into laughter so loud it would hurt my feelings if I were the kind of man who cares about making a fool of myself. But I don't. I live for belly laughs, especially coming from a woman who I know has fought her way through more than her fair share of dark times. If anyone deserves to laugh, it's Macy, and I intend to get her giggling so hard her stomach will hurt tomorrow. I complete another slow hip swivel as I begin to croon in my best Elvis voice. Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell. I emphasize with another sharp pelvic thrust, and Macy, who was already hiccuping with laughter, covers her mouth and rocks back and forth as her giggles take control. I run my hands down my chest, continuing to sing as my hip swivels grow more exaggerated. What a bright time, it's the right time. Thrust, the night, thrust, away. Oh no, stop, Macy begs breathlessly. You have to stop. But we're just getting started. I shift closer. Tell me, sweetheart, were you a good girl this year? I reach down, taking her hand and bringing it to rest on my hip. Or a bad one? Oh, Santa, I'm sorry, she says, fighting to get the words out through her laughter. I was bad. So bad. I scowl in mock anger as I pull her to her feet and draw her into a swaying dance in front of the fire. That's too bad. You know what happens to bad girls when they sit on Santa's lap, don't you? They get spanked? She asks, eyes glittering. I bite my lip. It almost looks like you would enjoy that, Miss Macy. I might, sexy Santa. She answers my hip swivel with one of her own. But I think I'd like to watch you finish your routine first. Then sit down, baby cakes. I step back, going to work on the buttons of my coat, holding Macy's gaze as she settles onto her pillow. 'Cause I'm about to blow your mind. Oh, good, she whispers. I'm ready. I peel off the coat slowly, deliberately, not minding the lack of musical accompaniment. It's hotter like this, with no sound but the crackle and pop of the fire and the rush of Macy's breath as I toss the coat away, flexing the muscles I've worked hard to keep sculpted this Christmas season. Keeping my eyes locked on Macy's flushed face as long as possible, I turn, granting her a view from the back as I continue the bump and grind. Careful, I warn. Don't look directly at the ass for too long, Angel. Its awesomeness has been known to induce temporary blindness. Macy sighs. Like the sun. I grin over my shoulder as I reach for the top of my rip-away pants. Exactly like the sun. But what a way to go temporarily blind. She nibbles her bottom lip, her attention riveted to my backside, the heat in her expression making me unexpectedly thicker. It's something that has never happened before, not a single time in all the hours I've spent bumping and grinding my way around the Christmas trees of the North Colorado Rockies. But it's happening now. Boy, is it happening. The moment I rip away my pants, there will be no hiding it. Macy will see that I'm rocking a Yule log for her that won't quit, and this won't be funny anymore. Erections ruin the fun. Introducing real desire into something that's supposed to be a tease is a major no-no in the friendly neighborhood Santa stripper's playbook. What's wrong? Macy asks. You stopped wiggling, sexy Santa. Yeah, well, maybe sexy Santa should take a time out. No. Her bottom lip pushes into a cute-as-fuck pout that does nothing to help the Yule log situation. I want to see it all. If I'm going to get spanked for being on the naughty list, I at least want to stuff $1 down your pants first. I'm afraid my pants are unfit for polite company right now. I confess over my shoulder, hoping to hide my condition until I can get myself under control. Understanding flits across her features, followed closely by a wicked smile that hits me directly in the balls, making the tension fisting there even worse. When Macy crawls off her pillow, headed my way, the situation becomes downright critical. What are you doing, Macy? I ask, my voice tight. I'm coming to see how unfit for polite company you are, Dean. Don't you mean sexy Santa? No, I mean Dean. She crawls around to my side. I've never had any fantasies about kissing Santa naked by a fire. She lifts her gaze to mine, her lips parting and a hint of that vulnerable girl I used to know flickering in her eyes. But I've had a few of those about you. Jesus, Mace, I murmur, my heart lurching. I've had so many fantasies about you. Then let's start making a few into reality. Her hands fall to her waist. A moment later, she tugs her soft blue sweater over her head, and then she presses a kiss to my bare stomach, a sweet, sexy kiss that is, I'm sorry, and I forgive you, and I want you, all wrapped up together and tied with a red holiday bow, and I'm overcome by a rush of gratitude. I kneel beside her, cupping her face reverently in my hands. I never thought I'd get to kiss you again. She rests her hands on my chest, right above my rapidly beating heart. Guess it's our lucky day after all. I guess so, I whisper, and then I kiss her, mating my lips to hers, tasting salt and chocolate and the fresh, fearless, familiar taste of Macy. Her tongue dances against mine, playful and seductive, but with an assurance she didn't possess when we were younger. She kisses like a woman who knows what she wants and how she wants it, and damn if it isn't hot as hell. Young Macy rocked my world, but grown-up Macy is a sexy storm sweeping into my life, leveling everything in her path, leaving me forever changed. Damn woman, I growl against her lips. You are the sexiest thing I've ever tasted. Ditto, she says with a shudder. I want you, Dean, so much. Me too, I say, my pulse spiking sharply. But are you sure? We don't have to rush into anything. I'm happy to wait as long as you want. She pulls back far enough to pin me with a steady look. I'm sure. And I think we've both waited long enough, don't you? Too long, I agree, as we roll onto the floor by the fire, silently thanking God for icy roads and falling trees and avalanches. It might have taken multiple near-death experiences to get Macy into my arms, but now that I have her back where she belongs, I don't ever want to let her go. This can't be a one-time thing, I breathe, stealing kisses as we fumble with the rest of our clothes. A one-night stand with you would kill me. No, it won't. I'm clean, and I'm on the pill. You know that's not what I meant. I capture her wrists, pinning them to the floor above her head, making sure I have her complete attention. I mean that I never got over you, Macy Clayton. Not really. All of those feelings are still there, and if we do this, She nods, the teasing light fading from her eyes. I know. It feels like... She pulls in a deeper breath. I know we're older and different in so many ways, but it feels the same, Dean. Exactly the same. I'm not different. I thread my fingers through hers. Maybe I should be, but I haven't really changed. I haven't either. She tips her head back, bringing her lips closer to mine. Does that mean we're failing at growing up? I smile. No, I think it means we were too grown up when we were kids. I know you were. You were raising Lynn when you were still a kid yourself. And you were paying your mom's medical bills when you were 14, she says, her gaze softening. So maybe now we should take it easy, huh? Make up for all those years of serious living by just having fun together and seeing where it leads? As long as it leads to me getting to touch you like this again. I shift until my hips are settled between her thighs. I silently wish I had the power to dissolve fabric with my thoughts. Macy bites her lip, her lashes fluttering as I rock against her. This feels like a dream. I've missed you so much. You too. I kiss the place where her heart beats fast in her throat. You feel even better than I remembered. Perfect, she echoes with a sigh. Like that night I came through your window. So hot, even with our clothes still on. Do you remember? I remember everything about you, I whisper. And tonight we're going to make some new memories. Memories that don't involve clothes. She shivers in response, excitement and a hint of nerves flashing in her smile as she says, That's the best idea you've had all day.
Chapter 9. I learned the futility of making plans when I was still too young to fully understand the concept of time. But even when how far Friday was from Monday was still a murky concept in my 4-year-old mind, I realized there was no sense in planning to buy new shoes or get ice cream later, when you never knew if there was going to be money left in Dad's wallet by the time later arrived. The mountains taught me about the flimsiness of human will, too. Yes, I could make a date to squeeze in one last camping trip before the first frost, but if it decided to snow on Labor Day, I was screwed. Ditto with icy roads keeping me home from work, school dances being called off due to blizzard conditions, and that time the river park had to be closed before the freshman picnic due to an influx of angry and possibly rabid beavers. Things like that drive Lynn crazy, but I'm a roll-with-the-punches kind of girl. Sure, there are occasions when a change of schedule is a bummer, but sometimes a client cancellation means I get to bust out of the office 2 hours early and hit the beach for some volleyball. This time, my sister getting called into work at the last minute led to this. To ending up naked in front of a fire with Dean Roberts, my entire body turning to lava as he kisses his way from my knee up my thigh, and then from my thigh to the place where thigh becomes something more intimate, to a place so close to where I'm dying for him to touch me that it's physically painful to wait. Painful, but incredible. God, how have I lived without this for so long? Without passion or anticipation or the breathless electricity of being so close to this man who brings my body to life in a way no one else ever has. I can't wait to taste you, Macy. We were so young when we were first together, but I remember every second, every caress, every kiss from the first to the last, and everything in between. We explored each other like it was our mission on Earth, but we never got around to this particular frontier. We were both too inexperienced, too unsure of what was acceptable. He never kissed me the way he's about to kiss me, and for a moment, I'm 15 again, heart pounding and anxiety prickling across my skin as I wonder what he'll think, what he'll say. You're so fucking beautiful, he says reverently, banishing my nerves. So beautiful it hurts to look at you. Like the sun? I tease, my breath coming faster as I squirm beneath his gaze, torn between the delicious thrill of anticipation and the breathless longing to know what it feels like for him to kiss me there. Exactly like the sun, he says. But what a way to go blind. Don't go blind, I whisper. It's okay. I don't need eyes to do what I want to do to you. My lips part, but before I can speak, I have a fleeting impulse to compliment him on how much his dirty talking skills have improved in the past decade, but I'm already too far gone to form full sentences. I'm buzzing, dizzy with how close he's taking me to the edge. So close, so close, so close to that beautiful, breathless place I can hardly breathe. And I'm gone. I'm flying, falling, soaring as my cells flood with bliss. I'm tuned into the happy channel, without a storm cloud in sight. Outside, the snow is falling harder, the temperature's plummeting as the storm reaches peak intensity. But inside this room, there is only sunshine and hope. I would say lying here with Dean is a wish come true, but I've never allowed myself the luxury of this dream. I'm a grounded in reality kind of girl, and until today, I haven't had reason to believe Dean might be missing me as much as I've secretly missed him. But clearly, the two of us have some unfinished business. It's a little scary, but all miracles are. That's what this is, a miracle. Something so good that not even the sound of wolves howling outside the door can scare me. The wolves are deep in the forest, and I'm here with my touchstone, the one person who has always made me feel safe and warm, even on the coldest winter night.
Chapter 10. After pulling on enough clothes to stay warm, Macy and I come back together in the mountain of blankets on the floor, cuddling in the glow of the firelight. We're quiet for what feels like forever, but it's still not long enough. I already know I'm never going to get enough time with her, this person I've missed like a prisoner misses a world without bars. Now that I've tasted her, felt her so close, remembered what it's like when we're skin to skin, heart to heart, I don't understand how I ever thought I was complete without her in my life. I've been content, even happy most of the time, but not complete, not fully alive. Now, the blinders I hadn't realized I was wearing have been ripped away, revealing the heart-stopping beauty I'd forgotten was out there in the world. I want to do something. I shift on the floor beside Macy, propping up on one elbow so I can keep looking at the beautiful, blissed-out expression on her face. Something like what? She asks. Something to commemorate tonight. A plaque by the side of the road where your car spun out, maybe. Or I'll see if I can get the mayor to declare it a town holiday. Macy's lips quirk. A holiday to commemorate our makeup sex? Not just makeup sex. Epic makeup sex, I insist, loving the way she giggles in response. It was, but it might be a little inappropriate for the kids in town to celebrate our bang-iversary, don't you think? Nah. I wave a dismissive hand. We'll just tell them it's Best Friend Appreciation Day. They don't need to know all the ways I enjoy appreciating my best friend. Her smile slips. Can we call ourselves best friends when we haven't talked in 10 years? Sure we can. You're still you and I'm still me. That hasn't changed. We just have a little catching up to do. But honestly, you already know more than most of my friends. Very few people are in the loop on the stripping thing. I was too worried the news would get back to my mother, and she would be too mortified to ever leave her cabin again. Your mom would be proud of you, Macy says, laughing when I arch a dubious brow. Okay, maybe not proud. I'm sure no mother wants to think about women shoving dollar bills into her son's boxer briefs, but she would be proud of your good heart. Maybe. I shrug, uncomfortable with praise for doing something that seems like a given. Of course, I was willing to pull out all the stops to help Mom retire. That's what you do for the people you love. But hopefully she'll never find out how I got the money. Macy's nose wrinkles. Well, this is Lover's Leap, my friend. Gossip spreads fast. If even one person finds out, she lifts her hands innocently. I mean, I won't tell, of course, but I'm not your usual small-town gossip hound. Well, I am. I grin as she rolls her eyes. Okay, not usually, but I am when it comes to you. Tell me something good, Clayton. Something as juicy as my Santa secret. I want to hear all about the trouble you've gotten into since the last time I saw you. Wow, something as good as the Santa secret. She pulls in a breath, letting it out slowly as she taps her bottom lip with one luscious finger. Even her fingers are sexy, each one an elegant work of art I could spend hours admiring. Well, I just finished meditation training with the actors from a Gladiator movie that starts filming next week. The producer is one of my oldest clients and a big believer in the benefits of meditation for focus and creativity. That's something I'm not supposed to tell anyone until the cast is officially announced, but it's not really my secret. Right. I want intimate dirt, I agree. But that's cool. Do you enjoy working with famous people? She bites her lip. Sometimes not so much. But these guys were all easy to work with and open to trying new things, even the chants and mantras. But I know that's impersonal. Let me think. Her eyes widen as she snaps her fingers. Okay, I've got one. Speaking of trying new things, I went skinny dipping for the first time last summer. Some girlfriends and I drank a little too much wine one afternoon and ended up running into the ocean behind my friend Amy's beach house in Malibu. I let my hand trail from her hip to her waist and back again. I'm liking this confession already. Did you discover a passion for swimming naked you want to share with me come summertime? Macy laughs. Hardly. We'd only been in the water about 10 minutes when Amy started screaming and hauling ass back toward shore as fast as she could swim. The rest of us looked up, and there, not 50 feet away, was a huge shark fin cutting through the water. My throat locks up. Yikes. Was everyone okay? Yes, but we were so terrified we ran onto the beach naked and stood there freaking out about the shark for a good 5 minutes before we remembered to put our clothes back on. When we finally started looking around the rocks where we'd left our stuff, we realized a bunch of surfer guys were taking pictures of us with their phones. They'd hidden our clothes while we were swimming and were lying in wait to get the money shots. Jerks. I experienced the sudden urge to stab a surfer. They better have erased every fucking pixel. Macy shrugs. We asked them to, and I think they did. They seemed to feel sufficiently guilty after Amy started crying, insisting her grandmother would have her committed to a psych ward if nude pictures of her ended up on the internet. But honestly, we were all so grateful to be alive at that point, we didn't have the energy to be too terribly upset about the pictures. Lucky for them, I say. The Macy I knew would have kicked surfer ass over something like that. New Macy is a little more laid back, she says with a sigh. But it definitely would have been a bigger deal if I hadn't just dodged a shark attack. One thing's for certain, it cured me of any desire to go skinny dipping again. My lips pull down on the sides. That's a sad story. A very sad story. No, it isn't, psycho, she says, smacking my arm. A sad story would have ended with someone's leg getting chewed off. You have to promise me you'll let me take you skinny dipping this summer. We don't have any sharks in the lakes around here. Yes, but the lakes around here are freezing. Even when I was a kid and desperate to swim, I had a hard time talking myself into the water. But I'll be there to warm you up when we get out, I say, molding my fingers to her ribs. You are pretty good at warming me up. She arches into my touch, wiping all thoughts of skinny dipping and just about everything else from my mind. I thought there was nothing I missed more than you under me, I murmur, but I was wrong. You were? She arches a brow, eyes dancing as she adds in a playful voice, And what else have you missed, Mr. Roberts? I groan softly in pleasure pain. That's what dirty talk from those sweet lips does to me, causes acute yet heavenly physical discomfort. Come here, woman, and I'll prove I'm a man who keeps his word. This second chance is the miracle I hadn't realized I was wishing for until Macy slid across the road and back into my life. And now nothing will ever be the same. Not me, not her, and not Christmas, which is now most certainly my favorite holiday. Bar none. Chapter 11. I prove how good I am at warming Macy up a second time, and then we gather energy-renewing snacks to devour by the fire. We drink more bottled water and finish the last of the trail mix. Macy refuses to touch her Fritos as they have hardened to slivers of shaved golden granite, and get back to the business of catching up. I fill Macy in on the journey to starting my own business and how amazing it's been to see it grow and flourish as more people discover the fun to be had outdoors in Lover's Leap, no matter what the season. The only hard part has been finding staff I can count on. I confess. I love this town, but we've got more than our fair share of ski bums. Macy's lips curve in a knowing smirk. Let me guess. They come down with a terrible case of strep throat every time there's fresh powder? I grimace. That's about the size of it. I finally had to let a few guys go. I hate to fire people I know need the work, but I can't run a business if my staff doesn't show up. I stretch my neck to one side as I debate whether the pair of raisins in my hand are too tiny to bother eating. Still, I feel guilty when I see someone who used to work for me standing in the food pantry line. That cuts pretty deep, you know? She lays a hand on my shoulder. But that isn't your fault, Dean. You made the choices you had to make to keep your business afloat. No matter how tender-hearted you are, sometimes you have to put your own needs first. You're right, but I trail off, not liking how selfish that sounds. No buts, she says firmly. You have an obligation to take care of yourself. You can't take care of anyone else if you don't. You really think so? She nods. I do. And, she draws in a breath, holding it for a beat before letting it out long and slow. And looking back, I could see where you were coming from when you called Child Protective Services. I was leaning on you too much, making you shoulder a load that wasn't fair to you. You had your own priorities, your own life. I shift to face her, shaking my head. No, Macy, it wasn't about that. I swear it was never about that. If I could have taken care of you and Lynn, I would have kept your secret, to the grave. But when I looked in the mirror and got real with myself, I take her hands, cradling them in mine, praying she can feel how much I mean every word. I knew I couldn't do it. I didn't have the time or the skill or the earning power to be who you needed me to be. I only needed you to be yourself, she whispers, to be my friend, my boyfriend, and to trust me. I wince. You're right. I should have talked to you about asking for help. Even if you'd refused to see reason and I'd ended up calling CPS against your wishes anyway, I owed you honesty. I'm sorry, Macy, I truly am. I accept your apology. Her lips curve, slowly and tentatively at first, but eventually her smile takes hold of her features, stealing my breath away. Because it's not just any grin. It's a smile that says, I forgive you, and maybe even, I still care about you. It's exactly what I've been hoping for, and I'm so happy I can't resist the urge to pull her into my lap. Now you, I say, cradling her close. Tell me more of your news. I want to get caught up on everything I missed. Well, I guess we should start with high school then, she says in a lighter voice. I lettered in bowling and chess. Bet you didn't know you could letter in chess, did you? I gasp in faux surprise. No, you don't say. What a magnificent nerd you were. She nods, lifting her nose imperiously. Oh yes, I was. And I was captain of my quiz bowl team, too. Aunt Maggie would only let Lynn and I stay after school for clubs that weren't violent or sweaty, so I laugh. Violent or sweaty? Really? Macy shrugs. She was old-fashioned and old, and she had a thing about sweat stains on her furniture that was just plain weird. Her couch from the 1970s still had the original plastic on it, but she took Lynn and I in when no one else would, so she'll always have a special place in my heart. And my nerdy resume was great for my college applications. Nursing, I nod. So, do you miss it at all? I miss learning about the body, but I always had a gut feeling that I'd made the wrong choice. It was upsetting to spend so much time around sick people, she says, filling me in on how she now uses her knowledge of anatomy and physiology in her massage practice, helping people deal with chronic pain. So I don't consider the time spent getting my degree wasted. She pops a cashew into her mouth as she rolls her eyes. Though Lynn thought I was insane at the time, bailing 6 months into what could have been a lucrative career with all my training already paid for. But there's no sense putting off a decision like that. When you know something's wrong, you just know. It's like when you know something's right. I search her face. It's undeniable. Macy brushes the hair from my forehead before resting her palm on my cheek. Like tonight, she says, confirming that she's feeling the way I am, like we're finally on the right path after years wandering lost. I can't remember the last time something felt so right. Me either. I lean into her touch. The only wrong thing is that I missed out on 10 years of your life. I hate that. Me too. But we're going to excel at making up for lost time, I can tell. She kisses me softly before she adds, fair warning, since we don't have toothbrushes, once we go to sleep, I'm going to have to cut off the kiss supply until we're rescued. I don't enjoy sharing the magic of my morning breath with others. I grunt as I thread my fingers into her hair. I don't care about morning breath. I like your breath any way I can get it. Well, I do care, she says, smiling. So this is your last chance, Roberts. Get the kissing out of your system before we go to sleep so you can survive until we locate toothbrushes sometime tomorrow. All right, I say, with a put-upon sigh. But I won't be rushed, Clayton. I intend to kiss you until I've had my fill. Is that a threat or a promise? The challenge in her voice drives me wild. Always a promise with you, Sugar Plum. So bossy. She tisks at me with a wink and then gives me exactly what I'm asking for. By the time we collapse onto the pile of pillows half an hour later, I don't bother rolling over to put on all of my clothes. I'm burning up from the inside out, my blood pumping so fast it's hard to believe I'll ever be cold again. And as I drift off to sleep, Macy's head on my shoulder, I vow to do whatever it takes to keep this red-hot woman close to my side and in my bed from here on out.
Chapter 12. Last night was so magical, so perfect, that I almost don't mind waking up freezing cold, with my hip numb from sleeping on the floor, and a giant rat sitting on the plate I used for dinner last night, eating the Fritos I left behind with a judgmental look on his face. I almost don't mind, and I almost don't scream. But then Tom Hanks starts to grind his teeth, making a creepy as hell squeaking, scraping sound, and I end up shouting right into poor sleeping Dean's ear. What happened? What's up? He bolts upright, lifting his fists in front of his face. Where's the monkey? He blinks, cringing as the cold air hits his bare skin. Fuck, it's cold. I come up onto my knees, patting his back. Sorry. Yes, it's freezing. Having some strange dreams there? Totally weird, he confirms, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. The evil flying monkeys took you to the witch's castle to hold you prisoner. But then one of them switched sides and was trying to help me get through the haunted forest so I could find you. But then all of a sudden, the witch popped out from behind a tree and screamed in my ear, and I woke up. Sorry again, I wince, pointing over his shoulder. I was trying not to scream, but then Tom Hanks started doing something weird with his teeth. As if the rat understands what I'm saying, Tom takes up the jaw-sliding, teeth-grinding business all over again. I shudder. There. That. What does that mean? Is he trying to call me out? Does he want to rumble behind the ranger station after school or something? Dean's laugh transforms to a sharply inhaled breath as he stands, his blanket falling to the floor at his feet. Damn. It has to be colder in here than it is outside. Shoulders hunched against the chill, he crosses to the fireplace wearing nothing but his boxer briefs and reaches down to scoop the rat into his hands. And no, Tom wasn't trying to call you out. Rats grind their teeth when they're happy, or upset, or scared. Oh, I draw my knees into my chest. Well, he was eating stale Fritos. So I guess he was happy at first? And then you screamed like a zombie was gnawing your face off, and he probably got freaked out. Dean deposits the rat into the glass cage next to Meg Ryan, who looks a little judgmental too. Maybe she isn't down with her man eating stale Fritos for breakfast. Or maybe she wishes Tom had brought some back to the cage for a morning snack. Or maybe she's just cranky because it's really, really cold in here. I slip my sweater on over my bra and leggings and scoot closer to the fire. We shouldn't have let this go out. I poke the ashes, relieved to see the glow of live coals just beneath the surface. Or we should have at least slept in all of our clothes. But that would have involved standing up and putting them back on. Dean fetches kindling while I wad fresh newspaper into balls and toss them onto the coals. I don't know about you, but by the time we passed out last night, I didn't have that much energy left. You wore me out, woman. I shoot him a wicked grin. Clearly, you need more cardio in your workout regimen. Luckily, I've got a great personal trainer. Her program has whipped me into the best shape of my life. I'll write out all the details for you, and we'll have you going all night in no time. Sounds like something worth exercising for. He crouches down next to me, kissing the top of my head before reaching out to arrange the kindling over the sparking paper. And maybe, if I save my pennies, I can afford to hire you to rub the knots out after, Miss Masseuse to the Stars. Not all of my clients are Hollywood types, I say, the thought of getting back to the office not nearly as exciting as it usually is. I love my work, but I don't like the idea of being 1,000 miles away from Dean. Not today or tomorrow or on Monday morning when I absolutely have to be back in LA for Geneva Tibbets's private meditation session, where the aging starlet will have a nuclear meltdown on my voicemail. The woman needs Zen in a major way, but the jury's still out on whether or not she's ever going to get there. A lot of them are just normal people. I force a smile, determined not to dwell on the fact that I'm leaving Lover's Leap and Dean until I absolutely have to. No need to ruin today, fretting about tomorrow. And I have a sliding scale. People who can't afford top-tier pricing get a discount, and friends are always free. He shakes his head. Not a chance. I want to pay. At the very least, we can work out a barter system. 1 massage session in exchange for an all-expense-paid camping trip to Cherry Creek once the snow thaws. I found an incredible place over there. Views of the lake, right near a fishing hole with an amazing fire pit. That doesn't sound very fair. I grab 2 of the smaller pieces of firewood and pass them to Dean. Okay, 2 camping trips. He angles the wood so that the kindling can work its magic. Or 3, I'm easy. I laugh. No, I meant on my end. You should get more than 1 session. Ideally, we would do 2 sessions a week for 3 weeks. That would be enough to free up any chronic discomfort and start increasing your flexibility with a few exercises I'll give you to do on the days when you're not having a treatment. Big muscles are all well and good, but you're going to be at increased risk for injury if you don't bulk up evenly and incorporate more stretching into your daily routine. I mean, you're lovely to look at, but I am noticing a decreased range of motion in your shoulders. He turns back to me, grabbing the discarded blankets and wrapping them around both of us with a grin. You're sexy when you talk about my decreased range of motion. I laugh, huddling close to stay warm until the fire starts giving off heat. I know. I'm a huge nerd about this stuff. Feel free to tell me to shut up any time. I can stop if I try. No way. I love that you found something you're passionate about. And I'm really interested. You're right. I've been stuck in the same rut at the gym for years, and I know I haven't been stretching enough. You'll be amazed what massage therapy and a few PT exercises can do for you, I say, my excitement building. I've seen people transformed after just a week or 2, pain they've carried around for years fading away like magic. That's one of the things that makes my job so satisfying. I love seeing my clients filled with hope for the future, instead of dreading another day waking up in a body that's not in balance. That's how I feel about my job, Dean nods. Like I could spend the rest of my life exploring these mountains and never see everything they have to offer, and sure as hell never get bored. I lean against him with a happy sigh. It is so beautiful up here. I can't believe I stayed away for so long. Just don't stay gone as long this time, he says gruffly, hugging me closer. Or I'll have to start stripping again to save up money to get an apartment in LA and come visit you when the tourists are scarce around here. It's a sweet thing to say, but the thought of Dean in LA makes me sad. Dean is a child of these mountains. He belongs in the woods with the trees and the animals, the fresh air and the cool breezes. LA, with its smog and traffic and obsessive focus on the superficial, would drive him crazy. Hell, it started to wear on me the past few years, and I'm not nearly the nature lover Dean is. I've been craving a slower-paced, cleaner, fresh air-filled lifestyle for a long time. In my secret heart, deep down where I keep the wishes that I know will probably never come true, I've wanted to come back to Lover's Leap since the day I left. I never hated this town. I hated the dark memories it stirred inside me. But now everything is different. There is no unforgivable betrayal in my past, simply crossed signals and unfortunate misunderstandings, formless shadows that have lost their substance now that they've been exposed to the light. Dean never stopped caring about me. I wasn't cast aside and forgotten. I was loved and missed by a boy who did what he believed he had to do in order to spare me pain. The knowledge is enough to break through the walls I've built around my secret heart and let the longing for home come rushing in. I miss winter nights by the fire, with nothing but mountain sounds outside my door. I miss hiking until my legs are jelly and I've worked up the appetite to finish an entire fish and bicycle beast feast breakfast platter on my own. I miss summer mornings wading in the river and crisp autumn afternoons filled with the smells of pie cooling on the windows of the town bakery. I even miss the ridiculousness of the frozen dead dude festival and turkey bowling in the square, and not being able to make it through a shopping trip to the hardware store without running into at least 10 people I know. I miss the people most of all. People like Olivia, Daisy, Maddie, and Dean. Sweet souls who know the dark places in my personal history and who care about me anyway. Even though my dad borrowed Daisy's dad's weed eater and never gave it back, and Olivia and I toilet papered Maddie's yard after the homecoming game freshman year. Even though I never had enough money to pay my full share when we used to split a pizza after school, and I wore the same ratty pair of jeans for 2 months straight in 4th grade, when I outgrew all my clothes in a sudden growth spurt, and Dad refused to waste money on more than one pair of pants that actually fit. But my friends never judged me or looked down on me. They loved me for who I was, not what I could afford or what kind of messed up family I'd come from. The people in this town are what make Lover's Leap a place you never want to leave, especially Dean. He's 1 in a million, the kind of decent, loyal, funny, caring, and courageous person you don't meet every day. And unless I'm reading all the signs wrong, he wants to be with me as much as I'm dying to be with him. He wants to take me skinny dipping and camping this summer. Reading between the lines, that's at least a 6-month commitment to seeing where this thing between us might lead. And if he's ready to jump in, why shouldn't I? I've spent years focusing on building my business and maintaining my friendships, relegating romance to the bottom of my to-do list. I told myself I would make time for love when the stars aligned, and the universe gave me a clear sign that the one had arrived. But the sign never came. It never came because I never got over Dean. No matter how impossible it seemed, I never let go of the hope that someday I would find my way back to the person who taught me what love was all about. Now here we are, brought together by divine intervention, by a freak snowstorm and an avalanche and all the other forces that aligned to give us a night I'll never forget. This is the sign I've been waiting for, and I'm not about to turn my back on this miracle. I'm about to tell Dean that he can forget worrying about an LA apartment. I'm coming back to Lover's Leap as soon as I work out the details of moving my business to Colorado. When something beeps in the ranger's office, and the lights flicker on overhead. A moment later, the heat creaks on, and the drone of warm air being forced through ducts brings the station further to life. "The phone!" Dean and I say at the same time, tossing off the blankets and dashing into the office, both of us determined to reach out and touch someone before the power goes out again. I hover next to Dean's shoulder, crossing my fingers as he places a call to 911. Seconds later, a tinny female voice on the other end of the line answers with, "911, what's your emergency?" And Dean launches into a retelling of the series of events that left us stranded. "Thanks so much." Dean nods at something the woman is saying on the other end of the line as I pace back and forth in front of the desk, hoping rescue will come sooner rather than later. I've enjoyed every minute of my time here with Dean, with the exception of the escaped rat-provoked mini heart attacks. But I'm ready to get back to civilization where I can grab a shower, a toothbrush, and a giant breakfast with an endless cup of coffee. "Will do," Dean says, giving me a thumbs up. "We've got firewood, so if the power goes out again, we'll be good until they get here, but any spare winter gear would be appreciated for the hike out. We left our coats in our cars, and they're still buried under a few tons of snow up by the highway." He nods again. "Great. Perfect. See you soon." He hangs up and turns back to me with a smile. The operator says she's going to coordinate with the Parks Department and get a rescue posse together. They're hoping to have us out by lunchtime, before the next storm hits. There's another one on the way? I ask, grateful for the heat still humming away in the background. The entire town is going to be buried at this rate. It's a bad system, Dean agrees. There's no way it's going to be safe for you to fly home tonight, even if you had a car to get to the airport. He runs a clawed hand through his already mussed hair. And I'll have to drive my old truck until I find out if the Toyota survived the snow. It'll be just like high school, I joke before sighing sadly. That reminds me, I should call the car rental company as soon as we get back to town. Figure out how to go about filing a claim or whatever else I need to do. Thank God I didn't refuse the extra insurance this time around. You want to make the call now? Dean jabs a thumb toward the phone. I'm going to wait and see what's left of the truck after the road crew digs it out before I call my insurance rep, but you know your rental is totaled. I nod. Totally totaled. That poor Elantra will never ride the roads again. I glance at the clock on the desk, shocked to see that it's already 10:30 in the morning. Dean and I slept half the day away, though I suppose that's not really a surprise, considering we were up way past any reasonable notion of bedtime. You're right, I should probably call now. The sooner they know what's going on, the sooner the wheels of bureaucracy can slowly and ineffectually grind forward. I'm guessing it will take at least a week or two to get it all sorted out, even if I file the report today. Dean bares his teeth in commiseration. Good luck. And don't take any shit from the rental company goons. I'll make coffee while we have power, so we can get caffeinated for the hike out. Bless you, I say, pressing my hands together in front of my chest. Coffee sounds like heaven right now. He winks. Still an addict, huh? I thought you zenned out health-conscious people were anti-caffeine. I narrow my eyes. Some are, but I'm careful to only read the studies that tell me caffeine is good for me. I'm smart like that. Smart and sexy. He leans in to kiss my cheek before turning to leave the room, throwing his parting words over his shoulder. Go get him, Tiger. An hour and a half later, after telling my tale of woe to no less than 3 representatives and gratefully downing 2 cups of coffee with cream that Dean delivers to the office, along with half of an only semi-stale bear claw he found in the staff fridge, I'm still on hold with the rental company. Come on, I mutter, bouncing from one foot to another as a recorded voice assures me that my business is very important to them. I'm seriously considering setting the phone down on the desk and doing a few sun salutations while I'm on hold, when I hear shouts from the rear of the station and the huff of a door opening. The rescue crew has arrived. That was fast, I mumble, a little sad that I wasted my last hour alone with Dean on the phone. But then, this wasn't really our last hour alone. I'm going to have to sleep over in Lover's Leap again tonight, and unless I'm very mistaken, I expect Dean will invite me to crash at his place, in his bedroom, in his bed, where we will have access to sheets and pillows and toothbrushes and all the other comforts of home that will make our second grown-up sleepover even more fun than our first. Deciding the rental car insanity can wait, I hang up and make my way back into the main room in time to see Dean in the fierce embrace of a petite blonde with bouncy curls and a pixie face, who is the spitting image of Meg Ryan in her younger years. The woman is seriously beautiful, making me keenly aware of the fact that I haven't brushed my hair or my teeth in over 24 hours, and that I'm still wearing the clothes I slept in. Even though the blame for my grossness lies with forces beyond my control, I still slink back into the office in shame, leaving Dean and the beautiful blonde to hug it out in front of the rat cage and hoping that my eyes are playing tricks on me. I suppose that could be just a friendly hug, but it doesn't look friendly. At all. Not even a little bit.
Chapter 13. Judging from the force of Tilly's hug, an embrace so tight it squeezes every drop of air from my lungs and makes my kidneys ache, she's glad to see me in one piece. Thank God you're okay, she says, her death grip showing no signs of easing up. And thank God you got away from that avalanche in time. If you hadn't, we would be searching for your corpse right now, Dean. It's enough to make me cry just thinking about it. Seriously, I'm so glad you're not dead." I rub her back in a soothing clockwise motion, engaging my abdominal muscles to keep her from squeezing me in half. For a tiny thing, she's got one hell of a bear hug. I'm fine, Tills. No worries. Tilly and I have been close for years, but I know her worry stems from more than fear of losing a dear friend. Miller is legally her son. It's what we agreed on from the start, but he and I are super close. He calls me Daddy Dean, and I'm the closest thing to a father he has. I can't even imagine how devastating it would have been for Tilly to be forced to tell her 4-year-old that I was never picking him up for a play date again. "But you had to spend the night here," Tilly continues, relaxing as I continue to rub her back. "And it's so creepy when it's dark. I think the break room's haunted. I always hear weird noises coming from the ceiling when I'm alone in there. Did you hear anything last night?" "It's squirrels." Steve, Tilly's older, crankier ranger counterpart, grunts as he prowls the area near the fireplace, making me glad I took the time to clean up our love nest before the rescue crew arrived. "It's just squirrels. I tell her that every time." "But there are never any droppings up in the crawl space when I look." Tilly finally releases me, and I discreetly suck in a deeper breath. "How do you explain that, Steve?" "Maybe it's the ghosts of squirrels. Either way, it's nothing to be scared of." Steve reaches out to clap me on the shoulder. "This is why you need someone waiting for you at home, son, so they can alert the police if you don't show up when you're supposed to. Glad you're okay." I nod, crossing my fingers that I'll have someone waiting at home for me very soon as I can convince Macy that we shouldn't waste another day apart. "Thanks. I'm great, actually." I glance over my shoulder toward the office, but Macy is nowhere to be seen. Once the scary stuff was over, it was fun to be stranded with an old friend, though we did have a few surprises. First Tom got out of his cage, and then Meg showed up out of the blue. Tilly's eyes light up. "Oh my God, you're kidding, Meg's back?" I motion toward the glass enclosure. "See for yourself. She and Tom are both back under wraps, but you need to check that case for a secret escape hatch or something. I have no idea how they're doing it, but they've both figured out how to jump ship when they want to." Tilly dances across the room to check on the rats with an excited yip. "Miller is going to be so excited. He thought Meg was lost forever. Steve, aren't you happy? I know Meg is your favorite." "I don't play favorites with rats." Steve's tone is grumpy, but the smile on his face as he glances at the glass enclosure tells a different story. "If I had my way, the only animals in this station would be stuffed ones." Tilly gasps softly. "Don't listen to him, Meg. He loves you, I can tell." "What I love is being at home on my couch, warm and safe," he says. "We're out of here in 10 minutes, Tilly. If you're taking the varmints with us, have them ready by then." He turns to me, jabbing a thumb over his shoulder. "We brought extra coats, scarves, and gloves for you and your friend." "Great, thanks so much." I motion Steve toward the office. "Macy was on the phone last I checked. I can't wait for you to meet her. She was my neighbor when we were kids, the one I told you about. We used to go camping around here all the time." "Oh," Steve says, his volume dropping. "That Macy? The one I used to date in high school." I pause at the door to the office, adding in a hushed voice, "But I'm kind of hoping we'll be a present tense thing from now on." Steve's eyebrows lift. "Must have been some night." I bite back a smile as I nod. "It was. Just like old times, but even better, you know?" I shake my head. "I know it's probably crazy, but this all feels like fate. Like that tree fell and the snow slid down the mountain and the storm rushed in, all so Macy and I could have a second chance before it was too late." "No such thing as too late," Steve says, letting his softer side show. "When it's right, it's never too late. I hadn't seen Deborah in almost 5 years when we ran into each other on the slopes after college." He snaps his fingers. "One afternoon was all it took to fall for her all over again." I exhale, relieved to have the ear of someone who understands how quickly old feelings can come rushing back. "Come meet Macy. You're going to love her." But when we step into the office, Macy is gone. The phone is in the cradle, her empty coffee mug is sitting beside it, and the door leading out onto the snow-covered back deck is slightly ajar, but Macy is nowhere to be found.
Chapter 14. In my mind, it was an easy plan. Sneak out onto the deck and around to the uncovered window by the back door, use the reflection to finger-comb my hair until I don't look like a neglected mental patient when I meet Dean's friends, and then sneak back into the office before anyone notices I'm gone. I couldn't get to the bathroom without going through the main room where Dean and Blondie were hugging, and there wasn't a single reflective surface in the office. Not even a computer screen. What self-respecting 21st century office doesn't have a computer screen? It's ridiculous, and as I fall through a rotten place on the snow-covered porch, scraping my knee through my leggings on the old wood, I curse people who refuse to get with the times. Even rangers need a computer to check the weather and do research on trees, right? Or animal migratory habit investigations. Or whatever else it is that rangers do when they aren't out actively rangering. Or you could have been less vain, Maze, and you would still be warm and dry, my inner voice helpfully points out. I'm not vain. I just hate meeting new people when I haven't brushed my hair or my teeth, I mutter, wincing as I try to pull my leg out of the hole and fail. It's good and stuck. The wooden plank's broken at an angle that's keeping my knee pinned tight. I huff in frustration, blowing my tangled hair off my forehead in time for a fresh flurry of snowflakes to land on the exposed skin. Great. Now I'm stuck and on my way to freezing to death. It's crazy cold this morning. So bitter I'm already losing feeling in my fingers. No wonder it was so chilly inside the station when Dean and I woke up. Damn, I curse, realizing my only option is to call for help while trying to think up a good reason for being out here on the porch in the first place. I pull in a breath, preparing to call Dean's name when the man himself pokes his head out of the office, relief softening his gaze. "Hey," he says. "What are you doing out here?" "Dumb stuff," I say, deciding honesty is the best policy. I was looking for a reflective surface to fix my hair. I didn't want to meet Meg Ryan looking like a homeless person. "The rat?" Dean frowns as his gaze drops to my leg. "No, the woman with the perfect blonde curls in the other room," I say, gesturing toward the front of the station. "You mean Tilly?" His forehead furrows. "Is that her name?" I ask, trying my best not to sound jealous. Even though I am jealous, the green-eyed monster making a visit for the first time in longer than I can remember. I thought I'd meditated envy out of my system, but apparently not. Dean laughs. "Yes, you know Tilly. She was in our homeroom up until 6th grade when she left to go to the charter school, remember? She always sat at the front because she could barely see over the top of her desk, let alone anyone else's head." My eyes go wide as my chilled synapses connect the dots. "That's Matilda Williams?" He nods, still grinning. "Yeah, we reconnected after high school and have been good friends for years." "Wow, that's great," I say, managing a breezy tone even as the gossip-hungry side of my brain curses me for not getting the scoop on whatever drama went down between Matilda and Dean. If only I'd pushed Olivia for details, I wouldn't be going into this situation blind. "She sure grew up gorgeous," I continue. "I mean, hair like hers is intimidating on a good day, let alone when you've gone 18 hours without access to a brush." Dean rolls his eyes. "You've been in LA too long. No one cares what you look like out here, especially Tilly. She's the most laid-back person I know, at least about stuff like that." I bare my teeth in what I hope is a not-psycho grin, ashamed of my vainer instincts all over again. The last thing I want to do is come off as a shallow LA idiot compared to Tilly's laid-back awesomeness. I usually don't stress about what I look like, but I'm not usually freshly reconnected with the love of my life either. This situation is enough to make even the most grounded granola girl wish she had lipstick and a tube of mascara. Or so I tell myself as I push a rush of shame away, knowing nothing good will come from indulging it. "She and Steve are just glad we're both okay." Dean arches a wry brow. "Or that we were okay, before you fell through the porch. Are you hurt?" "No, but I'm stuck," I say, sighing. And freezing. He steps carefully out onto the boards. I told Steve they shouldn't use reclaimed wood back here, but they were trying to save money on construction costs. Don't blame the wood. A gray-haired man in a ranger's uniform appears behind Dean, increasing my mortification by at least 50%. Blame the swarm of termites that came through here in October, chewing up everything in sight. The man lifts a hand my way and smiles. Nice to meet you, Macy. I'm Steve. My cheeks heat. Hi, Steve. I'm sorry I broke your porch. The older man shrugs. Don't worry about it. We're going to replace the whole thing come spring anyway. Let me go grab my handsaw, and we'll have you out of there in a sec. Thank you so much. As Steve disappears, I drop my face into my hands with a moan. I'm so embarrassed. Dean chuckles. Don't be embarrassed. And just so you know, you're beautiful, even with your hair tangled and pillow creases on your face. Well, great. I laugh as I lift my gaze to the pale winter sky. I didn't even think to worry about pillow creases. I'll add that to my list. No list and no stress. Just relief that soon we'll be taking showers and brushing teeth, he insists, before adding in a huskier voice, and hopefully picking up where we left off in a real bed. I'd very much like for you to spend the night at my place, Clayton, if that's all right with you. That sounds perfect, I murmur, doing my best to hide my naughty grin as Steve returns with the saw. In just a few minutes, I'm free from my deck prison and we're all back inside, prepping for departure. Dean goes with Steve to grab snowshoes and other supplies from the storage room while I head back to the lobby to see if Tilly needs any help. As I step into the room, Tilly is sitting on the floor, laughing at something on her phone, which she has aimed into a small pet carrying case. When she catches sight of me, she looks up with a grin. Hey, Macy, how are you? I'm great now that you're here, I say. So good to see you again, Tilly, and thanks for the rescue. Of course. I was so relieved to hear that you and Dean were safe. Mama, who's that? A tiny voice pipes up from the phone speakers. That's my old friend Macy, Tilly says to the phone before returning her gaze to mine. Sorry, I was just talking to my son Miller before you came in. He's so excited our rat friends are coming home to spend Christmas with us. Yay! Meg and Tom! Miller shouts, the adorable level so intense I can't resist coming to sit cross-legged beside Tilly. You love Meg and Tom? You're not scared of rats at all? I ask the munchkin whose face fills the screen, instantly torn between a sweet tug of cuteness appreciation and a sharper sensation that pricks at the back of my mind, insisting there's something wrong here. Something off. No, I love them. I'm not scared. I give them kisses. The boy's lips, his oh-so-familiar lips, pucker as he makes a mwah sound, and Tilly laughs. Ew, rat kisses, I tease, somehow keeping my voice light and playful, even as I realize exactly why it hurts to look at this precious little man. It's because he is the spitting image of his father. He has his father's eyes, and his father's smile, and his father's mouth, with that elegant calligraphy swoop of an upper lip I have never seen on another human being. Not even Dean's mother. Dean must have gotten his lips from his dad, just like Miller got his from Dean. He is Dean's child. There is no doubt in my mind. He's a perfect mixture of Tilly and Dean, a beautiful miracle that nevertheless breaks my heart. For many reasons. So many, many reasons. But I can't think of them now, or I'm never going to make it out of these woods without embarrassing myself. I've already fallen through a deck. I refuse to have a breakdown in front of Dean and the people who have come to rescue us, even if one of them is his ex-girlfriend. Or maybe his ex-wife. He could have been married for all I know. They might still be married and just be separated for whatever reason, but I don't think so. I know Dean too well. No matter how much he's changed, he isn't the type of man who would have done the things we did last night if he were in a serious relationship with someone else. But the fact remains that he was with Tilly at some point, 4 or 5 years ago if my read on Miller's age is correct, and that changes everything, because they have a child together, an innocent life, a kid whose happy smile cuts through me like a knife. Mercifully, Tilly says goodbye to Miller and ends the video call, giving me a few seconds to pull myself together before Dean and Steve arrive. The bustle of pulling on borrowed coats and mittens and locking up the station gives me further opportunity to refocus my thoughts and steel my emotions, but it's still a long walk to the road. A very long walk, during which I have a long time to think about who I am, who I want to be, and how far I'm willing to compromise my morals for a second chance at love. Chapter 15. The ride back to town is nearly as long as the hike, but finally we're back in Lover's Leap, and I'm tumbling out of the truck, promising to meet Dean at the Fish and Bicycle at 5 for dinner, as soon as I do some shopping and get my affairs in order. Fighting to hold my shit together for a few more minutes, I wave to Dean, Tilly, and Steve, and hurry down the street toward the drugstore. I'm praying I'll be able to purchase a prepaid cell phone, along with toiletries and enough clean underwear to get me through until my suitcase is unearthed from the snow, at the leisure of the highway department. I have to call Lynn and let her know I'm okay, just in case she tried to call last night and is getting worried, before making an even more important phone call. Then I'll know if Dean and I have a future, or if I'm doomed to head back to Los Angeles alone and miserable and regretting I ever set foot in Lover's Leap again after all these years. I hurry into the store, grateful for the blast of heat on my face as I grab a basket to load with the bare necessities. I'm sure I'll take warm cheeks for granted someday soon, but for now, it's a luxury I'm grateful for. Though having my face half frozen during our hike back to Steve's truck probably helped keep my emotional turmoil under wraps. At least, I think I kept it under wraps. Dean definitely suspects something's up. He gave me meaningful side-eye when I insisted on going shopping alone instead of heading to his house, where he has spare toothbrushes and shampoo aplenty, but I'm sure he has no idea that I've discovered the truth about his relationship with Tilly. If he did, he wouldn't have let me walk away with something as flimsy as a promise to meet up for dinner in a few hours. He truly wants a second chance. I believe that, feel the truth of it with every fiber of my being. Dean meant all the things he said last night. He never moved on, and he wants us to end up back together, even if that means him living in LA part-time. The question now is, can I let that happen? Knowing what I know and suspecting what I suspect? The thought of living without Dean makes me physically ill, but the thought of tearing apart a family that can still be saved makes me even sicker. I can't be that woman. Not when I know firsthand how hard it is to grow up in a home with a single parent who's struggling to get by. Sure, Tilly clearly has her shit together, but raising a child alone is still hard, no matter how secure your job or strong your work ethic. Thankfully, before I can work myself into any more of a moral crisis, I find a pay-as-you-go phone with internet capability on an end cap, snatch it up in my freshly thawed hand, and rush to check out. The woman who rings me up and bundles my purchases into a canvas bag I found near the school supply section looks vaguely familiar, but there's no room in my brain for sorting out who she might be, or how we might have connected in the past. I'm too worried about the future to reach that far back in history. Ducking out of the drugstore, I spot a smoothie hut on the corner that's appropriately abandoned. Who wants to drink something frozen when it's 20 degrees outside, and pop in? After ordering a kale-carrot concoction that seems like a responsible choice after all the junk food last night, I use their restroom to tidy up and brush my teeth before snagging my drink and the Wi-Fi password from the teenager behind the counter and tucking into a booth. A quick check of my email reveals that Dean's instincts were right, and that all flights out of Denver have been canceled until Monday, which means I'll have to extend my stay at the hotel. Assuming they have a vacancy and are in the mood to deal with me after I failed to check in yesterday. Or I'll have to make other, more complicated arrangements if I decide it's best for me to leave town. But I can't think about that yet, not until I know for sure. Lynn doesn't pick up, so I leave a quick message explaining what happened, promising her that I'm fine, and assuring her I'll let her know the details on my flight home as soon as I have them. Afterward, I place a quick call to my office manager in LA, letting her know that all my appointments for Monday need to be rescheduled. Tanya is, as usual, a consummate professional and promises to get everything taken care of and soothe Geneva Tibbets's frazzled nerves with a complimentary massage booked with her second favorite therapist. By the time I hang up with Tanya, I'm still the Smoothie Hut's lone customer, but I feel too self-conscious to make this last call where anyone else might overhear. Bundling my borrowed coat tighter around me, I head out into the cold, flinching against the frigid wind whipping in faster from the north. But Olivia's phone rings until I'm sent to voicemail. For a moment, I consider hanging up before the beep, but then realize Liv will have no reason to call me back. She won't recognize this number, and that a message has to happen. Sucking in a breath, I do my best to keep the insanity brief. Hi, Liv, it's me, Macy. I'm okay, but last night was pretty crazy. My car went off the road, and Dean ended up rescuing me right before a tree fell on it and crushed it flat. And anyway, like I said, I'm fine. He's fine too, but we were snowed in together overnight at the ranger's station, and one thing led to another. And well, I'm in love with him again, Liv. I honestly don't think I ever stopped being in love with him. And I was so happy because I could tell he felt the same way. But then Matilda Williams showed up this morning to help rescue us. And I saw her son on a video call, and I trail off with a soft groan, wishing I could go back and redo this message, but it's too late now. I push on. Anyway, it's pretty clear what the Tilly drama is all about, Liv. If her son isn't Dean's, I'll eat my own foot. My hand and my foot. He looks exactly like Dean did as a kid. He has the same eyes, the same mouth, the same almost everything. I exhale sharply. And I know Dean and Tilly aren't involved anymore, but I can tell he still cares about her, and that she's flat out crazy about him. And if there's even a chance that they might be able to get back together and make things work, how can I justify taking Dean away from his child? I press the back of one mittened hand to my lips, swallowing the sob rising in my throat. I mean, I can't, right? I just can't. So I should go, shouldn't I? Just leave town, pretend last night never happened, and don't ever look back. Hunching deeper into my coat, I strain for a sound on the other end of the line, but it's dead quiet, making me wonder if Liv's voicemail has cut me off mid-ramble or if it's still recording. On the off chance she has enough space in her inbox for a message this long, I say, "Call me back, okay? Hope you're weathering the storm and staying safe." I end the call, shove my new phone into my pocket, and head toward the Fish and Bicycle, knowing Maddie will be able to give me the number of the cab company that doesn't suck. I used to have the digits memorized, back when I was a kid and responsible for talking Dad into a taxi after he'd had too many to get us home safely from the pizza joint. Not a fun job, but as a kid, it had been worth it to me. Worth wrangling my drunk dad in exchange for a night at Pepperoni Parlor, eating gooey, cheesy pizza, and playing zombie smackdown until Lynn and I ran out of quarters. It's a memory that proves not every night with my dad ended in misery. But there were enough that did, that I can't, in good conscience, do something that would keep another child from a life with both of his parents. Yes, Tilly is clearly a much kinder and more loving person than my father ever was, before my mom died or after. She's also seemingly healthy, happy, and not a raging alcoholic. But even highly functional single parents are in for a harder time of it than if they had a partner in the trenches beside them. Single parents never get a break, never have the luxury of a sick day, and have to find a way to make one salary stretch far enough to support 2 or more people. I'm sure Dean contributes financially and spends time with Miller. He and Tilly clearly have a close relationship, and I can't see that being possible if he were withholding child support or ignoring his son. What's more, I can't imagine Dean being anything but a wonderful father, the kind of man any kid would be lucky to call his dad. But if that's so, why haven't he and Tilly found a way to make things work? They're such good friends. Can romantic love really be so far beyond the realm of possibility for them? There are so many questions swirling through my head and no firm answers. All I know for certain is that I'm still in love with Dean Roberts, and I will probably always be in love with him, even if I have no choice but to tell him goodbye.
Chapter 16. From the texts of Dean Roberts and Tilly Williams. Tilly. Hey, Dean, I've been thinking since I got home, and I have a bad feeling. I think I made a mistake. Dean. What kind of mistake? And how was Miller? He didn't give the babysitter hell again, did he? Tilly. No, he was very good. But Jennifer let him eat an entire pint of ice cream and play on my tablet for an hour and a half, so that might have had something to do with it. Dean. Well, a pint of ice cream and screen time never killed anyone. Tilly. My mother, the child behavioral psychologist, would beg to differ, but what she doesn't know won't come back to haunt me. Dean. My lips are sealed. Your mother hates me enough already, LOL. I'm not about to do anything else to get on her bad side. Tilly. Ugh, I'm sorry. She doesn't hate you. She hates me for making what she considers irresponsible choices. But at least we have your mother, who is wonderful in all ways, and realizes Miller is going to be fine, even if he came into being via unconventional channels. Dean. He's going to be better than fine. He's got so many people who adore him, plus the hardest loving mama I know. Tilly. That's actually the reason I'm texting. I got caught up in a moment of mama love today at the ranger station and did something without thinking. As soon as I did this thing, I realized it was a bad call, but I thought it was going to be okay. Macy didn't seem weirded out at the time, so I put it out of my head, but I just saw her walking down the street outside the smoothie hut, and she looked really upset, Dean. Like, really upset. And now I'm afraid I've gone and ruined things for you, and I'll hate myself if I did that. Truly. I know you never got over her. Dean. Hold on and back up a little. What did you say to Macy? Tilly. I didn't say anything. I was on FaceTime with Miller, showing him Tom and Meg so he would know they were safe and coming home to stay with us while the ranger station is closed. Miller was being silly, and Macy sat down to say hi. And without thinking, I let her see the phone. Dean. Shit. Tilly. I know. I'm sorry. Like I said, I wasn't thinking. And Macy didn't seem upset at the time, but everyone always says that he looks just like you when you were a kid, and Macy knows you so well. Dean. Don't apologize. It's not your fault. I should have told Macy about Miller. We talked a lot last night. I should have made it a point to tell her about that part of my life, too. Tilly. I can understand why you didn't. It's kind of a strange situation and not really something you want to tell your long-lost love the first night back together. I'm sorry I'm contributing to making your second chance harder than it has to be. Dean. Stop apologizing. I'm serious. I don't regret my choice to help you have Miller for a single second. Tilly. But if I hadn't been born a weirdo with almost no viable eggs, this wouldn't have happened. I could have waited until I found Mr. Right to have a child, and you could have waited to make a baby with someone you love. Dean. I love you, Tilly. You're one of my best friends, and you need to stop this. Blaming yourself for things that aren't your fault is ridiculous. Tilly. Right. You're right. I did nothing wrong, and you did nothing wrong. We just have to make sure Macy realizes that so you guys can get back on track to living happily ever after. Dean. Exactly. And you might have misread the situation. She could have been upset about something else. Maybe the rental car company was being a pain in the ass or something. I'm sure they aren't thrilled to learn that one of their cars is totaled and buried under a few tons of snow in the middle of nowhere. Tilly. True. There is a chance that everything's okay, I guess. Dean. But you don't think so. Tilly. No, I don't. We women have a sixth sense about things like this, Dean. We know when other women are upset because they just found out the man they love has a secret baby with another woman. Dean. But Miller isn't a secret. Tilly. Not around here, but Macy hasn't lived in Lover's Leap for a long time. Chances are she has no idea what's been going on. People who move to big cities don't tend to keep their fingers on the pulse of small-town gossip. Dean. All right, I'll go look for her. Tilly. Last time I saw her, she was walking west on Evergreen. I'll do another drive-by of the area before I head home, then report back. I had to swing into the store to get more mac and cheese on my way. Apparently, Jennifer left Miller alone for 5 minutes to use the restroom, and he took advantage of the opportunity to empty all 5 packages of mac and cheese in the pantry onto the kitchen floor. He said he was planning to make a giant picture using the noodles. Dean. Ack. Probably my mom's fault. They were making macaroni pictures last time we were over at her house for dinner. Tilly. LOL. It's okay. At least his intention was to create, not destroy, even if things did get messy. Speaking of messy, let me know if there's anything I can do to help with Macy. I'm happy to explain that I was the one who begged for your swimmers and that we've only ever been friends. Dean. Of course we've only ever been friends. You don't seriously think that she thinks that we... Tilly. Yes, Dean, I'm pretty sure that's what she thinks. What conclusion would you draw if you were in her shoes? That a man agreed to be a sperm donor to a seemingly healthy woman desperate to get pregnant when she was only 20 years old? Or that Miller was made the old-fashioned way? Dean. I'm so stupid. Tilly. No, you're not. You're just not the best at getting inside a woman's head sometimes. But that's why you have friends like me, right? Dean. Exactly why. I'll head out now, see if I can track Macy down and explain myself before this gets any worse. Thank you for the heads up, Tilly. Tilly. You're welcome. And I'm rooting for you, Dean, both of you. I haven't seen you smile the way you did today in a long time. You deserve that happiness, and so does Macy. She was always good to me when we were kids. Even when I was the class runt, none of the cool kids wanted at their lunch table. She's got a good heart. Once you explain why we made the decisions we did, she'll understand. Dean. I think so too. I hope so, anyway. Now I just have to find her.
Chapter 17. I walk without direction or intention, wandering through the ever-thickening snowfall in the hope that Olivia will call back with much-needed advice and perspective before I'm forced to make any big decisions. Do I bail on dinner with Dean and grab a cab to a hotel? Head to the Denver airport to wait for an outgoing flight? Book it to the closest bar to drink my problems away? Though that last one will do nothing but make a bad situation worse. I learned that lesson the hard way after years of watching my father get blackout drunk, only to wake up just as screwed up and out of options as he was when he picked up his glass of bourbon. I'm not a daddy's girl. Never have been and never will be. Oh no, the lawyer. I come to a stop in the middle of the sidewalk, thunking a fist to my forehead. I missed my appointment to pick up my father's box this morning, which means I'll have to reschedule and probably won't be able to leave Lover's Leap until Tuesday afternoon at the earliest. Or you could leave the memorabilia here and keep walking, I mutter, my gaze skimming the snow-dusted landscape stretching away from the western edge of downtown. It's a winter wonderland out here, with pine trees draped in white, framing a view of the Rockies huddled protectively around Lover's Leap Lake. I didn't realize that I was bound for this part of town, but I'm not surprised to find myself here, at the place where I started to believe I might get a happily ever after all. Growing up, Dean had seemed like a different species, an older, cooler, funnier, way less messed up than the Clayton family specimen, best admired from afar. Yes, we'd played together as kids and exchanged homemade presents every Christmas, but I never dreamt he would return the feelings I started to feel the summer I turned 14, when suddenly his broad shoulders and crooked grin made my nerve endings hum in ways they never had before. I knew I was pretty, with my mother's dark hair and my father's bright blue eyes, but I was also the girl with the dead mom and the drunk dad. I was the kid who never had the right clothes or any clue what was cool. My family didn't own a television, let alone a computer, and only my nerdiest girlfriends were charmed by my obsession with the fantasy novels I checked out from the library. I didn't see a dentist until I was 16, for God's sake. I didn't even know flossing was a thing you were supposed to do every day until I moved in with my scandalized aunt, who made it clear I'd be doing a lot of hygiene-related things wrong. Taking all those not quite rights into account, I'd concluded early on that I wasn't the kind of girl who ended up with a golden boy like football captain, president of the cool clubs, voted best personality 3 years running Dean Roberts. I hadn't dared to think of him as anything more than the boy next door, a sweet person I was lucky to call a friend. And then, in my sophomore year, he kissed me on his back porch after Thanksgiving dinner at his mom's place, and everything changed. I changed. I started to think that maybe I wasn't the ugly stepsister. Maybe I was Cinderella, and all I'd needed was a Prince Charming capable of seeing past the ugliness in my life to the real me. A girl with a tender heart who desperately wanted to love and be loved. I come to a stop at the edge of the lake, where the partially frozen water laps at the ice clinging to the shore. It's going to be a cold polar bear plunge this year, unless they've already made the run and I've missed it. I can't remember how many days are left before Christmas. I knew yesterday, but then I wandered off the path and into the woods, where terrible, magical things can happen, and I fell back under Dean Roberts' spell. Now all I can think about is his smile, his laugh, and his voice husky in my ear as we made love. It's always been making love with us. Always. The thought that I might never be with him again is so heartbreaking that for a moment I think I hear it again, that brittle creaking as soft things in my chest freeze and splinter. But it's just the ice contracting, preparing to dig in and take over, covering the lake in a thick, still shell for the winter. It's freezing out here, so cold I can't feel my nose, and my fingers are going numb inside my borrowed mittens. It's time to go home, to go back to the land of swimming pools and movie stars and friends and clients who have no idea where I come from, who don't know that I was ever the girl with the hand-me-down shoes or the starry-eyed teenager so in love with a boy that she plucked her heart out of her chest and placed it in his hands without a second thought. That girl didn't realize that there are some gifts you can't take back, some steps you can't retrace, no matter how hard you try. Love transforms your heart. It can't return to its innocent pre-love state any more than you can unbake a cake. There is no path back, and that glutton for punishment wouldn't take it even if there were. Because the heart is a masochistic little beastie. She'd rather rock in the corner with her bittersweet memories of all the things she's lost than simply walk away, free and clear, with nothing weighing her down. Hearts like baggage. Hearts are stupid, and hearts are the best parts of us. The parts that give me hope on days when humanity is doing its best to convince me we aren't worth saving. But that little boy with the golden curls and Dean's dark eyes is worth sparing whatever pain I can take off his plate. I know removing myself from the equation won't ensure that Tilly and Dean get back together. But if I stay, I'm certain to come between them. Decision made, I clutch my cheap canvas bag of necessities to my chest and start toward the road, hoping to find a pickup truck headed out of town. I haven't hitchhiked in years, but Lover's Leap was always a safe place to catch a ride, with enough aging hippies wandering around that folks are used to seeing people they know hanging a thumb out to get from one edge of the valley to the other, especially when it's snowing. People here are kinder when it snows. As if spelled into being by my thoughts, an old Chevy pickup glides into the parking lot by the lake. I lift a hand as the window rolls down and shout, "Heading Denver way. Can I catch a ride as far as you're going?" "Sure. I can give you a ride to the bus station." A familiar feminine voice responds from the shadows inside the cab. "But I was hoping we could talk first." Slowing my steps, I tilt my head to peer into the semi-darkness, throat going tight as I see Tilly's worried face below her halo of blonde curls. She's still in her ranger uniform, but the back seat of the extended cab is filled with grocery bags. "It's okay," I say, motioning to the bags. "I don't want your ice cream to melt." "Nothing will melt. Come on, get in and warm up." I hesitate, dreading though we're both in love with the same man talk I'm sure Tilly wants to have much more than continued exposure to the cold. "No, really, it's fine. You've already saved me once today. You've done your part." "I have not," she insists, a stubbornness in her voice I haven't heard before. "Now, get in and let me explain a few things before you make a mistake we'll all regret." This is not what I'm expecting. So not what I'm expecting that I climb meekly into the truck and roll up my window, settling in as Tilly turns up the heat and tells me a story about love and friendship and everyday miracles.
Chapter 18. I'm making my third cruise through downtown in my old beater truck, pausing to glance into shops in hopes of spotting a head of glossy black hair and growing progressively more certain I've fucked things up with Macy all over again, when the text comes through from Tilly. "You're back on for dinner at the Fish and Bicycle. I'm dropping Macy off on my way home. We had a good talk and sorted everything out." Shoulders sagging with relief, I pull into a parking spot across from the hardware store and text back. "Thank God. And thank you, Tilly. Please tell Macy I can't wait to see her." Tilly texts back, "Will do." And I toss my phone into the passenger seat and bolt out of the truck, hustling across the snow-covered sidewalk just as Colton Brody is flipping the open sign to closed. Bringing my hands together in prayer position in front of my face, I shout, "5 minutes, one quick thing, please, I'll pay double." Lips curving in a resigned smirk, Colton shoves open the door. "Get in here, man. You don't have to pay double, but if you run into my sister when she gets back in town, don't tell her you caught me closing early while I was filling in for her. She has no mercy and no sympathy for the fact that I was on call at the firehouse until 2 a.m. I hold up 2 fingers. Scout's honor. He waves me in. "So, what can I get you?" "You make keys, right?" I move inside and Colt locks the door behind us. "We do?" He nods toward the rear of the store. "The machine's old and slow, but it'll get the job done. How many do you need?" "Just one, a copy of my house key." I start working the key off the ring. He glances over his shoulder. "Yeah? Things getting serious with someone?" "More important question, does she know that you're a sex worker?" "I'm not a sex worker," I say with a laugh. "But yeah, she knows." "And she doesn't mind you fulfilling other women's kinky Santa fantasies?" Colton grunts. "Must be some woman." "She is. It's Macy, actually. Macy Clayton. We ran into each other yesterday." Colton's brows shoot up. "No shit. And you're giving her a key today? You don't think you might be moving a little fast?" I shake my head as I hand over the key. "Nope, I wasn't moving fast enough." "I don't follow," he says, frowning as he fits the key into the machine and fiddles with the various knobs and gears. "I was holding back, keeping things to myself that she needed to know. I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'm going to fix it, tonight." Colt glances up, his expression serious for once. "You're still in love with her, huh? After all this time?" I nod. "I am. And if she isn't interested in a key to my place and building a life together in Lover's Leap, then I'm moving to L.A. "Shit." Colton blinks, his eyes so wide I can't help but laugh. A former Marine and present-day firefighter, Colt is tough as nails, a guy who has faced down death more times than I've cast a line into the river running through town. But even a whiff of commitment is enough to send him running. He hasn't had a relationship that lasted more than 3 weeks since he came back to town almost 2 years ago, and clearly the thought of moving across the country for a woman is crazy talk as far as he's concerned. "You'll get it someday," I say as he hands over my new key and starts working the old one free from the frame. "One of these days you're going to meet a girl you can't walk away from. One you don't want to walk away from. One you'll chase after no matter how far you have to run or how rough the road gets on the way." His forehead furrows doubtfully, but he's smiling as he sets my old key on the counter between us. "Maybe, maybe not, but I'm rooting for you, brother, either way." I collect my original and tuck both keys safely into my jeans pocket. "Thanks. Appreciate it. How much do I owe you?" Colt waves a hand. "Nothing. It's on the house, and I hope you can convince Macy to take it. It'd be nice to have her back in town. She and my sister were tight when they were kids. I'm sure Daisy would be psyched to have her home to stay." Home to stay. It sounds damned good, but I meant every word I said to Colt. If I have to move to L.A. to make this work with Macy, I'll do it. I'll make trips back to Lover's Leap to manage my business and visit Miller, and I'll find a way to make it all work. I'm not letting Macy slip away from me again. I lost her once, and that was more than enough to convince me she's worth any sacrifice to keep us together, even leaving the town and everyone else I love behind. Chapter 19. I expect the Fish and the Bicycle to be deserted. The next storm system has arrived with a vengeance, pummeling downtown with snow, But when I push through the doors into the barbecue and fresh bread-scented air, the place is packed. Guess everyone is tired of hiding inside and figured they might as well weather the next blizzard together with beer, homemade soup, and baskets of hot wings. The bar is standing room only, and the wait for a table is an estimated 15 to 20 minutes. Just as I'm about to head outside to meet Macy at the curb and suggest we head somewhere more private, I catch sight of her in my peripheral vision, waving from the corner table by the window. Outside, the snow is coming down like Parmesan cheese spraying from an over-eager waiter's shredder. Macy still wears the same soft blue sweater I was lucky enough to pull off of her several times last night, but now she has her hair plaited into 2 braids that remind me of when we were kids playing in the backyard, and her lips are glossy and begging to be kissed. And she's smiling, which is definitely a good sign. But as I start across the room toward the table, I see that her eyes are shining too. She's smiling and maybe about to cry, and the combination makes me so nervous that I barely wait to sit down before blurting out, "I'm sorry, Macy. I'm a fucking idiot. I should have told you about Miller. I should have told you about Tilly asking me to be her donor and the whole process, and no, it's my fault." Macy covers my hand, her warm skin on my chilled fingers sending a rush of relief into my bloodstream. I shouldn't have jumped to conclusions this morning, just like I shouldn't have jumped to conclusions 10 years ago. Ever since Tilly and I finished talking, I've been thinking, and I keep coming back to one question. What's that? Her lips press together for a moment before she adds in a softer voice, "Why didn't I write to you or call you? Why did I sit in LA stewing and brooding and secretly wishing you would reach out to me just so I could yell at you when you did?" "You were angry," I say, threading my fingers through hers, "and you had every right to be." "Maybe." She shakes her head, her eyes shining brighter. "I'm not so sure about that anymore, but I do know this. I should have let you know how I felt. I should have been brave enough to tell you how hurt I was. If I had, we would have found out 10 years ago there'd been a terrible misunderstanding." I wince a little. I can't help it. I hadn't thought about it that way before. "But deep down, She breaks off, her throat working as she swallows. "I thought you didn't care." I grip her hand tighter. "Of course I cared. You meant everything to me, Macy. Hell, you still do. I'm still in love with you. I'm always going to be in love with you." "Me too." Her lips curve up, even as the tears in her eyes spill down her cheeks. "And I'm not a 15-year-old girl who isn't sure she's worth loving anymore. I'm a grown woman who knows how to communicate, and there's no excuse for the way I almost ran off today." I blink. "You almost what?" "I almost left. Tilly showed up right when I decided to hitch a ride to Denver." Macy's forehead furrows. "I'm sorry. I know that's crazy. I shouldn't have gone down the rabbit hole. I should have called you to talk about what I was afraid of." I hold her troubled gaze. "And what were you afraid of? That I was in love with Tilly?" Her shoulders bob. "Maybe, a little. But I was more afraid of being the woman who messed up your kid's life." "Miller's life is never going to be messed up," I say without a trace of doubt. "Tilly is an incredible mother, and this arrangement might not seem normal to other people, but Miller has never known anything different. All he knows is that he's a loved little boy whose parents are the best of friends. The fact that Tilly and I don't live in the same house or kiss each other goodnight has zero impact on his health or happiness." I sigh, wishing I'd had more time to sort out what I wanted to say about this. I struggle with foot and mouth disease at the best of times, let alone when I'm on edge and so desperately wanting to say the right thing. "And Tilly explained why we made this decision, right?" I ask. "How she was running out of time, even though she was so young?" Macy nods. "She told me about her fertility issues. She told me everything. She was so open and honest and wonderful that She laughs nervously as she releases my hand and reaches under the table. "Well, I was so grateful that I wanted to do something for her, but I don't really know what she likes or what she needs, so I just followed my gut." She draws a white toy Emporium bag onto her lap and pulls out a white ball of fluff with big ears and a pink felt nose. "It's a rat puppet," Macy says. "For Miller. I thought he could call this one Meg. She pauses, bringing a second ball of fluff, this one brown, to perch on the table beside the first. And this one Tom. That way he can have at least one version of Meg and Tom with him all the time, even when the real ones are back at the ranger station. Fighting a wave of emotion, I nod. He'll love them. Yeah, you really think so? Really. I blink faster. And Tilly will love them too, because she'll know what they mean. Macy looks up, fresh tears filling her eyes as she nods. I hope she will. I don't ever want to come between you and Tilly or you and Miller, and I hope someday Miller and I can be friends too. Her voice hitches as she adds, because you realize there's no way I'm going to be able to keep from loving your son, right? I mean, he's a part of you, and that seals the deal for me. Overcome by a wave of emotion stronger than anything I've experienced in years, maybe in my entire life, I thread my fingers into Macy's hair and pull her in for a kiss. Our lips meet, and love, longing, and gratitude explode in my chest, tearing my heart wide open. And it hurts. The sudden wrenching shift as hope becomes certainty, but it's the best kind of hurt. The kiss deepens, every brush of Macy's lips against mine assuring me that I won't need to look for an apartment in L.A. She's not going anywhere. She's home to stay, my girl, my Macy, my other half who's been missing for way too long. Our public display is edging toward the naughtier side of acceptable, and I'm seriously considering asking Macy if she wants to make a break for my place before the weather gets worse. Forget dinner, I'm too starved for her to care about food. When someone clears his throat pointedly on the other side of the table. We pull apart with matching laughs, Macy sniffing and reaching for her napkin as I look up to see Maddie beaming down at us. He throws his arms open wide as he says, "It's a Christmas miracle. How about a flight of seasonal beer to celebrate? On the house, my treat." Macy laughs and I grin. Thanks, but I think we were just about to head out. Make sure we can get back to my place before the roads are too bad. Maddie wags his big head. Nope, the roads are already too bad. I'm pulling out the cots and anyone who is drinking here is sleeping here. No sense risking it when I've got beer, food, and a generator to keep us all warm if the power goes out. Macy makes a softly dismayed sound. That's so sweet of you, Maddie, but I've been wearing the same clothes for 2 days, and Dean and I slept on the floor of the ranger station last night, so that's why you're getting the keys to my guest apartment upstairs. Maddie pulls a key ring from his back pocket with a wink before bringing a finger to his lips. But don't tell anyone else. It's a special treat to celebrate Macy moving back home. Thank you, Macy says, voice thick with emotion. I'm so excited to be coming back to a place with so many incredible people like you in it, Maddie. Maddie's already ruddy cheeks go a deeper shade of red as he drops the keys on the table and reaches over to give Macy's shoulder an affectionate squeeze. And I'm excited we've got one more keeper back in the valley. He nods as he claps his hands. Now, I'm going to bring those beers and you're going to drink them. And then I'm bringing cheeseburgers and fries and onion rings, and I don't want to hear any complaints. I salute him. Yes, sir, and thank you, Maddie. As he turns, moving away through the packed house filled with familiar faces and priceless memories, I'm overcome with another wave of gratitude. Still, I have to ask Macy, are you sure you're not going to miss L.A.? She shakes her head. Not a bit. I'm a mountain girl, and I'm ready to come home. I resist the urge to kiss her again, but just barely. Instead, I pull the spare key from my pocket and place it on the table near Miller's new puppet friends. Speaking of home, I had this made for you. It's for my place. I understand if moving in together feels like too much too soon, but I want you to know you're welcome in my home anytime. And if you'd like to move right in, I let my words trail off, encouraged by Macy's grin, but not ready to take anything for granted. It's a little crazy, I guess, but so was everything that happened last night, she says. And that was one of the best nights of my life. Even with the rats, I tease, lifting stuffed Meg. She laughs. Even with the rats. Though I would prefer that the only rats in our home be stuffed, if that's all right. Anything you want, baby. As long as you're sleeping next to me every night, I'm a happy man. Her fingers trail up my arm, leaving shivers of awareness in their wake. Me too. I can't wait to start making up for lost time. We could get the burgers to go, I say, making her laugh again. No, we'll eat at the table like civilized people and thank Maddie profusely for the lovely meal. She lowers her voice as she adds, and then I'm taking you upstairs and showing you how much I've missed you in the 4 hours we've been apart. It's been way too long, I agree, capturing her lips again because I can't wait for another taste of her. We're still kissing when the waitress delivers our flight of beers, and we're kissing again when more food than any two people could eat in one sitting arrives with Maddie's compliments. We manage to keep our hands to ourselves and our mouths on our food for the next 20 minutes. But by the time we sneak upstairs to the guest apartment, we're so desperate for each other we stumble in with our lips fused and our hands wandering, coming together in the dark and fumbling our way to the bedroom without bothering to turn on the lights. And as I make love to Macy in a proper bed with the winter wind making the windows creak in their frames, I give thanks to the storm swirling outside, blessing every snowflake that brought her back to me. The next few days pass in a blur of plotting and planning, interwoven with breaks to celebrate the coming holiday with friends and family. It is by far the most chaotic lead up to Christmas in memory, but also the sweetest and the naughtiest and the very best. By the time we pick up Macy's inheritance from the lawyer on Wednesday, we've hired a moving company to box and ship her things, found a real estate agent to list her condo in L.A., and made arrangements to transition her business into a retreat center based in Lover's Leap. We're both flying high, but still, I worry about the contents of the box, wondering what on earth her loser of an old man could have thought important enough to leave behind for his girls. I just hope it's nothing that will make her sad. But when she lifts the cardboard lid, there's nothing inside but old family scrapbooks, cards and letters their mother wrote to the sisters when they were little, and a note from her father scrawled on stained hotel stationery that simply reads, "So glad you two turned out so much like your mama. Sorry I didn't do better by you when I had the chance. Love, Dad." I look up from the missive to see Macy nodding slowly, a distant look in her eyes. "You okay?" I ask, resting a hand at the small of her back. "Yeah." She nods again, a smile curving her lips. "I'm fine. Good. And I'm glad he saved these. Now I can find those pictures from the summer your mom gave you that horrible Tupperware bowl haircut." I groan. "No, we're burning those." "We are not," she says, grinning wider. "We're going to show them to Miller, and he's going to laugh his head off, and then he can use them to make himself feel better if he ever goes through an awkward stage." Seeing that even his daddy, the finest man in Lover's Leap, went through a rough patch might be an inspiration for him come age 12 or 13. "I like that," I say, drawing her closer. "Like what?" "That you're thinking that far ahead and still seeing me in your life?" Her gaze softens. "Always, Roberts. You're not getting rid of me again without a fight." "I've already surrendered," I say, bending for a kiss as she says, "Good." And it is good. Very good, and getting better every day.
Epilogue. 3.5 years later. Love leaps. Love stumbles. But love keeps going because that's what love does. It never gives up or gives in because it knows there is always tomorrow. There is always sunshine after the storm and springtime after cold winter nights. There is new life. Fresh opportunity even after the dreams you wanted so desperately have died. Because sometimes those dreams aren't dead at all. They're just sleeping under the snow, waiting for the sun and the rain and the right moment to burst into bloom. As I watch my daughter smear her first caramel sundae all over her Easter Sunday dress, I can't think of anything more beautiful than this particular dream come true. This little girl with Dean's wavy brown hair and my blue eyes, and a smile that lights up the world. At 18 months, Ellie Lynn Roberts is the apple of my eye, her daddy's pride and joy, and her big brother's best bud. She's also stubborn as all get out, and every bit as determined to have her way as I ever was. I tried to intervene with a bib before the Sunday eating on the church lawn got completely out of hand, but Ellie decided she was having nothing to do with that business. She ripped the offending fabric from around her neck as fast as her chubby hands could manage and got down to sticky business before I could snatch it off the grass. Now her frilly new dress with the yellow ducks on the hem is covered in streaks of caramel and melted ice cream, as is her matching yellow sweater. But she's also glowing with happiness as she scoops goopy spoonfuls of sundae into her mouth. The extra time spent spot treating will be completely worth it, at least as far as I'm concerned. Hopefully, Dean will agree, since chances are he's going to end up covered in ice cream too. Half the kids on the lawn are a mess, and there's nowhere to wash hands before they run to hug the Easter Bunny. And what kid can resist hugging the Easter Bunny? Well, lots of them probably, now that I think about it. A 6-foot-tall man dressed as a giant rabbit is probably going to scare the crap out of some of the younger kids. But Ellie won't be one of them. She's fearless, this one. As predicted, the moment Dean circles around the side of the church, dressed in his bunny outfit and carrying a basket full of candy and snacks for the kids, Ellie squeals, "Bunny, bunny, bunny!" drops what's left of her sundae on the grass, and makes a beeline for the giant rabbit as fast as her legs can carry her. Easter Bunny Dean kneels, scooping Ellie into his arms and giving her a big hug, while Ellie beams at his furry face and puts a hand to his nose with an aura of wonder. "Thank goodness they went in for a new suit this year," Olivia says, coming to stand beside me as we watch the kids surround Dean, their hands extended for treats. "The old one had the creepiest eyes. This one is actually kind of cute. I like the nose." Dean bought it himself, I confess, my heart melting as Ellie wraps her arms around Dean's bunny leg, holding on tight as he begins handing out candy to the rest of the kids. He demands excellence in his costuming. "So I've heard," Olivia teases. "So I've heard." "Oh, stop." I nudge her shoulder with mine. "That was almost 4 years ago. Am I destined to be Mrs. Sexy Santa for the rest of my life?" "Likely so," Olivia says, without a trace of apology. "But it's cute that Dean thought he could keep his part-time stripper gig a secret from everyone. I mean, the man was born and raised in Lover's Leap. Doesn't he know that in a town this small, nothing juicy stays a secret for long? I guess there are worse things than being married to the town stripper." "About that," Olivia eases closer, checking over her shoulder to make sure we're alone before she asks softly, "Is it true that he still strips for you every Christmas Eve?" She lifts her small hands, palms facing out. "I don't mean to pry, but someone I know might have been trying to convince her husband to do a little show for her on her next birthday. It would be good to know my, friend isn't the only one asking for those kinds of favors." "You can't tell me Colton is too shy to strip for you," I say, arching a wry brow. "As far as I can tell, that man has no shame." Olivia's lips pucker to one side. "Well, I may have also asked to photograph the show. For posterity, of course." "For posterior," I joke, unable to help myself. Liv laughs. "Yes, that too, but I think it's a reasonable request. When I'm 80 years old and my memory is starting to go, I want to be able to recall exactly what my man's backside looked like when we were young and crazy." "I agree. Tell Colton to lighten up and be a good model for you." "So, can I tell him he's not the only man whose wife enjoys a little creative costuming now and then?" Olivia asks, wiggling her brows. I shake my head. "Sorry, Liv, but I can't answer that question. I'm trying to get on Santa's good list this year, and that means no kissing and telling. Santa is very anti-kiss and tell." "Oh, is he?" Olivia laughs. "Very. And while I can confirm that it's a lot of fun being on Santa's naughty list, I'm really gunning for a good slot this year." "That's okay," Olivia says, her eyes sparkling. "You answered my question already. So can I start calling you Miss Naughty List?" "Absolutely not." "How about the bunny's honey?" she suggests. "I'm sure you're going to have some fun with Mr. Rabbit later, right?" "Ew, no," I pull a face. "The only thing I'll be doing with that costume is washing the ice cream stains off of it before I store it away for next year." Olivia giggles again. All right. Talk to you soon. I got some great shots of Ellie today. I'll text them to you later, assuming I survive Easter dinner at the Brody house. Daisy is on the warpath about the ham again. She insists we should have roast beef instead. Last update, She'd hidden the ham somewhere on the farm, and Sarah couldn't find it anywhere. Daisy has an unnatural hatred of ham, I observe. Liv nods. She really does, poor ham. It can't help being pink and slimy. I grin. If I didn't know better, I'd think you were in on the ham hiding. Doesn't sound like you're a fan. Could be, Olivia says with a wink. But don't tell anyone. I'm trying to get on Santa's good list, too. I mime locking my lips and throwing away the key, then wave goodbye to Liv as I head over to snap some photos of my own, documenting the cuteness of my husband and baby girl. As usual, they are adorable, giving me plenty of choices for Ellie's baby book, and to send to Tilly and Miller later. Tilly always spends Easter in Denver with her parents, but she hates to miss a moment of Ellie's babyhood. Since the day she saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life, Tilly and I have become dear friends. Miller comes over for dinner at our house at least twice a week, and I can always count on Tilly to come through with veteran mom advice when I'm battling a bad night of teething, or wondering how on earth to get my stubborn daughter to try vegetable-based baby foods as well as the fruit ones. I know some people in town think it's odd that I have such a close relationship with the woman Dean donated his sperm to years ago, but I don't care what those people think. I'm grateful for Tilly and the love and light she and Miller bring into our lives. And it's not like that's the most scandalous gossip about Dean's and my relationship, as Olivia's probing questions made abundantly clear. I don't care about that either, but that won't stop me from teasing Dean about it. Later, after we've made our way home through the crowded downtown streets, and Ellie has been bathed and settled down for her nap, I fill Dean in on the rumors still circling about our raunchy holiday traditions. How do they know I still strip for you every year? He leans against the island in the kitchen, still a bunny from the neck down, though he took his head off as soon as we tucked Ellie into bed. She'd been ridiculously thrilled that the Easter Bunny was coming home to tuck her in for a nap before he hopped off to hand out candy to the rest of the children of the world. I've never told anyone. Have you? No, never. I wrinkle my nose as a hazy memory drifts through my head. Well, I don't think I did. There was that one book club night when I had a few too many glasses of wine and we started playing Truth or Dare. Some of the confessions from that particular evening are a little blurry. Dean sets his glass of orange juice down with a shrug. Oh, well, I don't care if you don't. I shake my head with a grin. Nah, it makes me feel like I'm part of the legend. The legend of sexy Santa. Dean eases closer, heat creeping into his eyes. That's a good one. But I'm thinking we need to add to our repertoire. I mean, didn't you ask me, once upon a time, if I had plans to be a dirty dancing bunny? My eyes go wide, and a laugh bubbles up in my chest. No, no way. That outfit is way too fluffy and pink. Dean scoffs. I can make that sexy, woman. Are you saying I'm not man enough to pull off fluffy and pink? No, I insist. I'm saying I would feel like a pervert, one of those weird people who have fantasies about sleeping with giant stuffed animals. No, you won't. Not when I take it all off. His hands go to the zipper hidden at his neck, as his hips begin to swivel. I laugh harder as I back toward the bedroom. No, stop it right now, Dean. Our daughter was hugging your leg in that suit. This leg. He lifts said leg into the air, turning the motion into a dance move that swings him in a circle, granting me a view from the rear as he wiggles his ass, sending the suit's fluffy white tail bobbing up and down. It's ridiculous, but also weirdly sexy, a combo that makes me giggle even harder. Stop, I beg, choking on laughter. Oh God, stop it, please. It's so wrong. But it's about to feel so right. He spins, catching me around the waist and pulling me into his arms. Before I can protest, his lips are on mine, and electricity dances across my skin. Say I'm your sexy bunny, Dean murmurs against my lips. Never, I say, a wicked smile curving them. You can't make me play this sick game, you bad, bad bunny. Oh, but I think I can, Jellybean. He growls against my neck, nipping my skin with his teeth before he pulls away. Want to make a bet? A bet on Easter Sunday. I tisk in disapproval as Dean shuts the bedroom door behind us. That's pretty scandalous. But I was on Santa's naughty list last year, so I guess I'm up for it. What's your wager, Rabbit? That's Bunny, he corrects, stalking toward me as I inch closer to the bed. Mr. Bunny, to you. And I'll bet you all the candy in my basket that I can have you begging me to give you my hot beef carrot in 10 minutes or less. I snort. That's the grossest thing I've ever heard. There is no way I'm going to beg you for anything, least of all your hot beef carrot. You will beg me for my hot beef carrot, Dean insists, slowly unzipping his suit, revealing the toned chest beneath. I'm going to make you so desperate, you'll be begging for my magic bunny stick if I tell you that's what it's going to take. All right, I say, pulse racing as he shrugs the suit off his shoulders. Assuming you're right, Mr. Bunny, what do you win if I give in and beg? Oh, I've already won, woman. He pulls me into his arms. I get to spend the afternoon naked with my smoking hot wife. It doesn't get any more made of win than that. I link my arms around his neck, melting the way I always do when I look into his eyes and see how deeply I'm loved. You are the sweetest, Mr. Bunny. I think I'll keep you around until next Easter. Maybe longer if you're lucky. Good. But like I've told you before, Jellybean, I'm not sweet. I'm a dirty bunny, and I'm about to prove it to you. Get your pretty ass on the bed, make those panties disappear, and get ready to beg for what you need. Biting my lip, I crawl onto the bed. Come and get it, Mr. Bunny. Your 10 minutes start now. If I'm not begging for your hot beef carrot by the time the clock reads 2:15, I'm claiming my prize. And I want a lot more than some dinky basket of candy. His eyes dark. Dean eases onto the bed, wrapping his hands tight around my ankles, making my pulse spike. And what is it you want, Mrs. Roberts? I think it's time to start trying for number 2, don't you think? Dean's expression softens with gratitude, assuring me that he'll never take the miracle we've found together for granted. I don't know, babe, he says, slipping out of bad bunny character as he adds, are you going to hate me later if we conceive while I'm trying to make you beg for my hot beef carrot? I laugh as I shake my head. Not even a little bit. In fact, I think that may be the best how we conceived story ever. I love you, he says, returning my grin and raising me a wicked wink. But I really am going to do my best to make you beg. And I'm going to love every minute of it, I assure him. And I do. And 9 months later, when Patrick Roberts is born, Dean and I agree that there's a hint of bunny in the shape of his perfect little button nose.
Hello, I hope you enjoyed A Naughty Little Christmas. Andi and Sebastian do such a great job. If you did enjoy it, please do like and subscribe. I enjoy getting to know you and having you around. Also, if you love affordable audio and you are still in a Christmassy mood, please check the description underneath the video. I will have links to some more Christmas goodies for you. And please do have a happy holiday. And if you see a squirrel in underpants, just, maybe offer to buy them some jeans.